Good evening, everybody, and welcome into the NECC's coverage of NECC Nationals. My name is Yanni. I am joined here by RMC. And tonight, we've got some Champions Division action going on here. It is the first round of their Nationals bracket. Brooklyn College Maroon taking on Purdue Gold in the best of three. RMC, these teams actually have a couple of things on the line because, it's starting to get around that time for C-Law, and I heard that Brooklyn College Maroon made their case on Twitter recently, or Tentacle Coach did, as to why they should be voted in.
Yeah, so definitely some teams more than others right now, Yanni. And it's worth noting as well, this is the NECC Nationals Champions Division. So these teams are actually coming in from different conferences. Brooklyn coming in from the East playoffs, where they finished in the top four. On the other side, Purdue Gold coming in from the Central Division with a top three finish. So Yanni, Brooklyn, a lot on the line, but it's not going to be an easy fight. Purdue, on the other hand, this is not their roster that qualified for C-Law. This is sort of their, I don't know if it's their JV roster, their sort of B-team roster here, and it's still really, really strong.
Yeah, they've got really good players from top to bottom that, anybody would be really happy to have on their teams. But as you mentioned, some of these rosters not quite set in stone. A role swap having to come through Princeton, having to play in the top lane for Brooklyn. That is going to be rough because you're taking support and moving them up there. That's typically a role that struggles to translate elsewhere.
Yeah, because top lane often is that island, that sort of 1v1 mindset. The only role I think of that translates well to top lane is maybe mid lane, but for support, somebody who has to duo with somebody else all the time, being alone for a change is something very different. Thankfully for Brooklyn, though, it's not the first time that Princeton will be filling this role. So the team at least has some experience with that lane swap.
Yep, and talking more about the teams, here are our starting lineups tonight. This evening, we're going to start off with Brooklyn College Maroon. It's going to be Princeton up in the top lane, Hwalp in the jungle, Sam in the mid lane, and Ming and Buffing, the duo in the bottom lane. And on the other side for Purdue Gold, you've got up in the top lane, Valley, Leechy in the jungle, Fox in the mid lane. The greatest name I've ever had to cast, T1 Galayusi in the bot lane, along with Saknam, who pretty well-known player, has played around on some open qualifier teams, has done a couple of role swaps here and there, but certainly a player to watch for Purdue.
Yeah, and a player right now who I believe in the last couple of days was also playing in the running the Rift Combine as well, trying to draw eyes potentially for tier 2, tier 3 teams here in NA. So let's talk about this bot lane, Yanni, because you talk about T1 Galayushi as a name that, one of the best you've ever seen. Let's talk about one of the best bot lanes, or one of the best matchups we might get to see tonight. On one hand, T1 Galayushi and Saknam, we talked about how good they are. Well, T1 Galayushi is a very aggressive lane player, or at least he is in solo queue. Things like Draven, Samira, Neela, lane dominant I'ma kill you champions. And on this patch, 14.8 as well, Draven did get a buff. So fingers crossed, I'm hoping we get to see a bit of Draven. For Brooklyn, though, their bot lane is also a pretty strong point for them as well, especially Buffing coming in. Buffing, a bit of an enchanter player, but a multi-season challenger player, currently sitting at GM. But this support is somebody who I think can go toe-to-toe with Saknam. And we've seen Ming as well be a carry for this Brooklyn squad. Maybe not as much in lane, but, with things like Jinx in meta, I think that does feel a bit comfortable for Ming to be able to play later on in the team fights.
Yeah, and you mentioned how, Buffing is going to be really the big one to watch here out of the four players, at least when it comes to him and Galayusi, right? Because Galayusi plays such aggressive AD carries that this means that Buffing is going to have to be pretty careful on his selections because they are largely enchanters. The best part about enchanters into aggressive AD carries is that generally you have the tools to kind of rebuff them, keep them away a little bit. But if you misposition, you will give over a bunch of gold.
100%. And when I think of what you're going to play enchanter-wise into aggressive picks like Draven, I'm thinking things like maybe a Lulu, maybe a Renata. A lot of the other enchanters, things like Janna or maybe a Soraka, like you're not going to do anything to an aggressive bot lane. Your tools to rebuff are very, very conditional, as you've mentioned, Yanni. And that kind of makes me think a little bit about the junglers as well, coming down to maybe help out that lane, especially on the side of Brooklyn. Their jungler, Hwalp, is a very interesting guy. Brooklyn tends to demand a Shaco tax. And the last time I saw this team, Brooklyn College Maroon, I think they were up against Weber, Yanni. Weber being a very strong roster, with former Worlds player in the mid lane. And Brooklyn took a game off of them, specifically with a Shaco in the jungle. So I expect to see a Shaco tax, or else this bot lane might not go the way Purdue thinks or wants it to go.
This is exactly what happens when you have a Shaco one trick, right? Not to say that he's only a Shaco one trick, right? He's played plenty of games on other champions, make sure he's well-rounded for competitive. But if you give a player their best champion, guess what? It doesn't matter that you have a player who went to Worlds on your team or anything like that.
Yeah.
You know, when you are at this level of League of Legends, you are an exceptionally good player. You can beat anybody on your best champion. But man, why does his best champion have to be Shaco? You know, I before the match today looked at his rank on the ladder and made a nice little note. Hwalp is rank number 666 on the ladder, and I can't think of a better spot for a Shaco player. I mean, man, I really hesitate to say anything bad about the college kids because I love them and I love collegiate League of Legends. But Hwalp, I don't know what decisions you made in your life that made you a Shaco player. But you know what? It's probably best that you didn't reconsider. Listen, you're Grandmaster, so you're not doing too bad for yourself. You're playing good, high-level competitive games of League of Legends. But you know what? Like I said, you can pull out a couple of other things. His Graves, pretty good as well, but you can tend to see it's more aggressive junglers. He's not really a facilitator. He definitely likes to play for himself a little bit.
I don't know, he facilitates death one way or another. It feels like, Graves, Xin Chao, Volbear, all these sort of picks. Like you said, he really likes to get action rolling early game. And I do think Brooklyn College has kind of figured out how to play with that. Last time I spoke to the technical coach about this team, he said early season, it was a little bit slow for the team. It took them a while to click, but I think they've managed to channel this aggression from help really, really well. And it is with these sort of early yanking, skirmishing style junglers to get his lanes ahead, and especially his mid lane, because as much as Ming is very comfortable in team fights, their mid laner Snatch or Sam, especially on one of his favorite picks, Kassadin, benefits a lot from this early pressure. It accelerates him, and he can actually 1v5. I've seen him do it on picks like that, Kassadin, like his Syndra as well. If you give him enough time to scale, he becomes an absolute menace later on.
Yeah, and you mentioned that slow start that they had, right? They dropped to TMU Blue in the first week of the season. Then they dropped a match to RIT Orange after that. And, in fairness to Brooklyn Maroon, right? TMU Blue, that's a surprising loss. But RIT Orange, very, very good team. They managed to go 5-2 the rest of the way. In fact, a 4-way tie up at the top, at least in match record, 4-5-2 teams. But Brooklyn College Maroon coming out as the number 1 seed because they had the least game losses. They only had 4 game losses all season. All 4 of them were in the first 2 weeks. They have just been on fire after that. They did get extinguished in the playoffs, though, right? They did have a rough showing against the Carleton Ravens. It was a close 2-1 series. They couldn't get it done. And with RIT Orange cleaning up the Carleton Ravens, you're thinking that maybe that should have been Brooklyn College Maroon versus RIT. But ultimately, Brooklyn College, they had a nice finish for themselves. But on the other side, we've been talking them up a whole lot. Purdue Gold on the other side, they themselves have had a pretty nice season for themselves. Their path aligned with Gold. Even in the playoffs, the Central playoffs, a win over Illini.
Yeah, and on top of that, too, it comes from the individual strength that this team has. They have carries in literally every single role. Heck, even their support, Saknam, can be a carry if you give him the right champions to do it with. So that's kind of scary as well. I'm going to focus a little bit on Purdue's top lane. I know we talked about the bot side and how competitive that matchup could be, but the top side's where I'm a little bit scared of, because Purdue, throughout most of the season, has played for the side lanes, both top and bottom, with Fox often running supportive picks like Karma or Oriana. And with an aggressive Lychee in the jungle with that Xin Chao looking for those early skirmishes. Topside Valley likes his carries. And against Princeton, who is being role swapped up there, this is probably the best matchup that Valley could kind of hope for.
Yep. We'll see what matchups they're going to see champion-wise here. Could be time for Valley to pop off. But Princeton also able to play tanks, can certainly flex up, a Karma to the top lane. I mean, I know that this champion doesn't go into the top lane anymore, but a couple weeks ago, I saw whispers of Janna top returning. I don't know if we'll actually come out and see that, but something to at least be aware of. As you already mentioned, the Shaco tax, that's off the board.
Yeah, glad to see it. The Camille being taken off versus well, Yanni, is an interesting one. I mean, that is recognizing that, hey, Valley can be a huge threat. Camille's early game and her laning isn't great in the top lane necessarily, and that's why we haven't seen her too much in meta. But her skilling is still absolutely monstrous, and her ability to just delete a single target and still be a teamfight menace is an issue. And speaking of teamfights, the Aatrox being taken off as well for the side of Brooklyn, while the Kassadin, a lot of respect being paid from Purdue here to both Whelp and to Sam.
Yeah, and you know what? Why not? We know that Shaco in the early game, absolute menace, causes a lot of problems. And then Kassadin's a champion that if you can't stomp him out in the early game before he hits level 6, where then he starts to become harder to kill, as the game goes on, the game goes longer, this Kassadin eventually takes over. So really, all other necessary bans, they are really strong bans. And we're seeing that Karma come out. You get double the value when you take that one out.
True. Both buffing plays it, and as you mentioned, Princeton, Yanni, I guess they heard what you're saying, and they didn't like Karma top any more than you did, so they're taking that off the table. Zach being first picked or first hovered here, Yanni. Worth noting, Zach right now, I think we're seeing him more in the top lane than the jungle, but he is a good flex that can go either way. We've seen this quite a few times actually from Brooklyn as well in general, just keeping their options open with these flex picks.
Yeah, and I really love seeing Zach being played in the top lane. And one reason why is because it's kind of similar to Rek'Sai, but also like very different. You have that awesome sustain, but you know, it can be outplayed, right? Your opponent can step on the blobs and it's a problem. But then like you actually have more impact later on in the game. But it is going to be hard to have an impact when you take a look at the champions on the other side. Jin Zhao and Nautilus getting picked up. Both champions that are able to disrupt Zach in flight.
Yeah, and I really like this Xin Zhao being picked up. We kind of mentioned that both Whelp and Lychee play this champion, so it is a bit of a contest to pick to come through. This is very comfortable for Lychee. Early aggression, and then likely, I wouldn't be surprised if we see an Orianna come through from Fox to support that one.
Yep, we are seeing the Kai'Sa and the Janna get locked in here. Not too surprised to see the Janna come in for buffing here. People have been saying for a long time now, but this season more than ever, pick Janna and you will get Elo. And you know what? Maybe this works the same way in competitive. This does mean that Galiusi and Saknam, they know what they're going up against.
Yep.
They are going to maybe get 2 bans targeted out of them because, you know, 1 ban, Galiusi probably gets the bans targeted at him, let's be real. But it does mean that they have the ability to say, you know what, we want this AD carry. We're going to try to run over them and call it a day.
Yeah, Saknam already has his Nautilus picked up, so we're still looking for a mid, an AD carry, and I think the mid pool is so wide right now that's very, very difficult to pinch. So as I say that, though, we see just a pay ban come through for the side of Brooklyn. So they're saying, okay, we don't want to deal with that particular champion. I'm actually a little bit surprised. I don't know if Twisted is that strong right now. I know he's switched more towards the AP build. And I'm still thinking potential Orianna if you want to just blind it on the side. Well, actually, you don't have to. You can just pick your AD carry and then last pick mid lane for the side of Purdue here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, Twisted Fate still needs to get taken out because you could see teams at all levels are still piloting him to success in the top lane and in the mid lane. You know, I haven't seen him in the bot lane as much anymore after those nerfs, but I'd imagine that he still at least brings some value there. And also a Twisted Fate into a Zac would be pretty good here. We are going to see the Varus get locked in here for Galiushi. So unless there's going to be some forbidden top lane tech that we've seen in EU, we can imagine this will probably be going into the bottom lane.
Agreed. I kind of like it into the Kai'Sa as well. You can still go the lethality build if you just really, really want to mess with that Kai'Sa in lane. The shielding from Janna won't help you that much from that. The Lissandra actually blind locked Yanni. I thought it was just going to be a hover. I don't know how I feel about this one. Yes, it is a short range-esque composition triple melee from the side of Purdue, but blinding a Lissandra here, that's not a champion that has as much agency or as much damage to be able to carry games.
Yeah, and it does certainly bring a whole host of CC, but you've got a lot of targets that you have to CC, and there's a reason why champion's not getting picked up nearly as much, and now you're going to have to deal with a Ziggs. You're going to get outranged, you're going to get poked down, it's going to be really hard to roam around. At least your mid-jungle combination is very strong, right? CC for days, you land the Ring of Frost, you combine it with the Tether of the Nocturne, and guess what? You're not going anywhere. You're going nowhere fast.
Fair enough, and already you can see for Brooklyn, this is just, I mean, they drafted a Kai'Sa, they just went with an all-in composition. It surprised me a little bit because of the Janna. I feel like if you wanted to go all-in composition, I'd have loved to see something like an Alistar instead, you know, come in for that support role so that you literally can all 5 go in as one. And for the side of Purdue, I like the Ziggs counter pick. It's a good matchup into Lissandra mid lane. Lissandra's range is not the greatest. She has to commit her body in if she wants to actually trade with the Ziggs. Likewise, the Varus will handle that well. And the Xin Zhao has the Crescent Guard as well to disengage a fight if they don't like the terms on which Brooklyn is finding that. The background to all of this as well, top side, Valley, that Fiora. We're talking about how good he can be as a carry into the Zac. I feel like if we don't see Princeton get some jungle help, shutting down Valley early, this game might just revolve around that split push Fiora.
Yeah, if you just allow this Fiora to just go unchecked the entire time,
yeah,
you know what? You ignore Fiora in the early game, and in the late game, you wonder where the heck all your towers went, right? So there's a lot of points of contention here that you need to watch out for. The good news is there's not as much pressing need to head to the mid lane to try to shut down the Ziggs. He's going to get his anyway. You're going to be able to farm from afar. Even Varus, to a lesser extent, right, can scrap a little bit, but generally can also just play back, fire arrows, accrue CS. So as long as there aren't fires on the bottom side of the map, we might see a lot of attention from Hwalp coming into that top lane. So we'll see if Leech is up to the task of being able to match the pathing of Hwalp and generally let his laners be okay. I think that's the name of the game for Purdue. Let your laners lane.
Yeah, pretty much. And as the game goes on as well, it still feels a similar strategy for Purdue later on. It's kind of just survive the engage coming through from Brooklyn. If you can soak in the engage, your counter punch is better. You've got better sustained damage. You've got better poke as well. You have more options. As for Brooklyn, though, like you kind of talked about, the early pressure, I am looking at Hope as well. That level 6 gank needs to come down, whether it be in the top side to shut down Valley, or whether just to accelerate Ming and buffing on that bot lane as well. Varus is kind of vulnerable to these sort of all-ins, and if you can just shut him down right from the get-go, if you can get Ming ahead, that's how this dive comp kind of operates. So Brooklyn, they've got one button, and I expect to see them mash it as hard as they can in this game.
They're going to need to mash it as hard as possible. And we're going to see how hard these buttons are being mashed, RMC, as we've made it here into game 1 of this best of 3 NECC Nationals action coming at you. Brooklyn College, they're on the blue side. Purdue, they're on the red side. All right, RMC, what are your expectations for this early game here, right? What do both teams want to accomplish in order to achieve their goals, come away with the Nexus being exploded at their hands?
Okay, so for Purdue, laning is good. They like lane. They want to isolate that as long as possible. So I don't expect to see, as I say, too much aggression. A hook does come down onto Sam. Just a little bit of trade. I don't expect to see too much craziness in terms of like rotations or whatnot. It's just about the laning, and it's about Lishi in the early game, because he's got the Xin Zhao. What can he do? Nocturne will out-farm you, and Nocturne will have, I feel like, almost better gank impact at level 6. So for the side of Brooklyn, they're waiting till help comes online at level 6 before making action. There's a clear window for Purdue to try and abuse the early game. If they don't do so, that's when Brooklyn gets to have fun. At level 6, that's when Brooklyn comes online, and that's when we need to track which lanes they're playing to.
Well, astute observations as always, my friend. Got to see how these teams come away with this victory, as Sam and Fox just chilling out opposite sides of the lane right now. See the junglers starting on opposite sides of their map as well, both at their own blue buffs, though. So that means that we could see the Xin Zhao head to the top lane first before anything else.
Yeah, and already Princeton just getting intercepted at the pass. Like, just trying to hit into the lane is getting chunked out. That's not what you want to see as the Zac. Yes, you've got a lot of sustain, but as you rightly pointed out earlier, Yanni, it's a mini game, right? Can you step on the blobs? Can you pick up your blobs fast enough? And with the mobility that a Fiora has, if she starts winning that out, I don't expect to see Princeton pick up many of his blobs.
Ming buffing, just trying to get whatever advantage they can out here. As Galiusi taking a little bit of damage, level 2 hit here for the side of Brooklyn College. Let's see if they're not able to do too much with it, as Princeton finds himself in a little bit of trouble here. Princeton's blob is getting popped. Don't know if Valley is going to be able to take these out. Don't really want to get in turret range, a little too dangerous.
Yeah, already took one turret shot. You saw how much damage that did. But nevertheless, to be able to break the passive, Yanni, at level 1, and because you killed one of the blobs, Princeton comes back with half health. Princeton does not get to push out beyond that turret, lest he die right away.
Oh, Hook goes down. Ming could
Okay,
find himself
ignite.
in trouble. He's ignited. He's ghosted, trying to get away. He will be able to survive. That's a nice play there from Saknom, landing that hook.
Yeah, and this bot lane, Saktum has to do that. We've already seen the early pressure. Great job from buffing as well. That level 1 was buffing stepping up and just really aggressively poking out and trading on Saktum and Galayushi. And normally you think of Varus, you think that's the poke side of the lane. Sure, but not at level 1. Mid lane, Sam?
Sam finding himself in a little bit of trouble. Flash for flash. Sam, does he get away? Is he able to dodge out? He is. Sam will be able to survive just barely. So Fox too is a little low. Sam's got to be careful.
Yeah, Fox chugging those bots as much as possible, trying to stay alive. I'm curious if either jungler decides to show mid, because normally Nocturne not the best ganker, but when the Ziggs is that low, I think you definitely can go for it. Both mid laners still sticking around.
Yeah, that's a dangerous game that both of these mid laners are playing here. I am curious to see how dangerous it ends up being, as you see that Lychee is in the area, but I doubt that Sam's actually going to do much of anything. Fox getting very low on mana, but is more than happy to just continue to control this lane.
And if anything, Sam's the one kind of playing with fire by opting to stick around at this point. A good flash, if you can get an angle for that from Lychee, and you're pretty much dead to rights. We are seeing now Sam gonna base. Whelp is there to cover, and I kind of like that for Brooklyn as well. Whelp getting the experience will be nice.
Hook goes down, buffing in trouble, but look at the damage that gets onto Ming. They end up trading 80 carries, but Saknom is the one who gets the kill.
Yeah, Brooklyn playing kind of aggressive there, just willing to tank the hook and just go in with that. As you mentioned, the fact that Ming picking up the kill does mean that he's going to be slightly ahead in terms of that goal, but a huge wave going to be denied away from Ming.
Oh man, look at all these
buffing the minions
coming out. Buffing is in trouble. The flash and the minions finish him off. Saknom is 2-0 right now.
Okay, that's really sexy from Saknum right there. Going for that, knowing exactly how much he could do in supportal combat. Saknum gonna walk away with that one. Now 2-0 too. Both the kills on Purdue went to Saknum. I'm actually curious. Actually, just okay, I was gonna be curious if they decide to go a bit more health and just attack it out. Just went with the boots instead. I expect to see Saknum roam early with that buy, because that is a massive advantage on mobility.
And those early boots from Saknom looks like it's gonna put in a lot of work here. You know, this is why your support gets kills in the early game, right? Everybody's like, oh, support's taking my kills, blah, 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 blah. Eliusi finds himself in a little bit of trouble. He does have flash available, so not too much trouble, but Ming is on a pretty big power spike here. Having that serrated Dirk is going to quite a bit. Saknom, though, continue to get aggressive as they put more damage down onto buffing.
Yeah, I guess that's what Saknum has to do. If you got the kills, you've got to carry. And as a support, hey, that means you just got to land that CC. Galayushi eating more poke, though, does have to be very careful, especially as Ming is level 5. Once you take that level 6 with that level advantage, if Galayushi is that low, as a Kai'Sa, you just dive in, kill, flash back out. Flash is still available for both these AD carries.
Hey, listen, you take flash to use flash, right? You know, you don't take it just for nothing. As you can see up in the top lane, Whelp is in the area trying to secure more than one grub, but with Fox having lane dominance here in the mid lane, with a Valley really out-dueling Princeton to start the game, it looks like it's going to be 2 grubs going over to Purdue. And that is a pretty big pickup for Purdue, because we talked about their siege. Holding that thought, Ming getting hooked. The Ignite is out. He is going to pop his ghost. Galayushi flashing forward. He's ghosted up, and he manages to find the kill. Now buffing's going to be the next target. Galayushi's just got to survive for a little bit longer. It's a double kill for the Purdue AD carry.
Okay, and Purdue's bot lane able to answer back on that sort of poor AD carry trade initially. Now 2 kills apiece for either side. Princeton getting run down, no passive.
Princeton with a nice flash there, able to find a way out, and Valley almost gets the better of him. Things starting to fall apart a little bit early here for Brooklyn College Maroon, but much like their season, it was rough early, but hey, as long as you get it together when it matters, it's all okay.
True, and we were talking about the fact that for Brooklyn, we expected the pre-6 to be a little bit difficult from them. Now Whelp is level 6 with that paranoia. That's when I feel like they can start turning their tides, finding their revenge a little bit. I'm curious where Whelp ends up going. Originally, we were kind of calling maybe shut down the top side. I think Valley is too far accelerated at this point. Princeton 30 CS down, like half the CS actually of Valley right now. I think Whelp is better served kind of going for that bot or mid lane.
Yeah, it's really tough because there's 2 shutdowns in the bot lane, right? You want to be able to cash in on those, but I think it might be possible to take out Valley if you wanted. The biggest problem is that Hwalp hit level 6 and there was not an immediate play to be made. Your top laner wasn't around, the opposing mid laner wasn't around, and the opposing bot lane wasn't around. So the longer you sit on this level 6 without getting an opportunity to use your paranoia, the less it actually is going to mean.
Yeah, and you want to maximize the cooldowns as well. Like, as many times as you can spam that paranoia, you want to be using on cooldown. That's why things that reduce ultimate ability haste or increased your ultimate ability haste, things like experimental hexblade, was so popular on Nocturne initially. Nowadays, I think you get Stride Breaker first before you go into that hexblade. And almost as if expecting this to happen, you can see Purdue is shading down towards this bot side. Lychee is there, was spotted on the ward that he cleared, but this will dissuade Hwalp from looking for this bot lane dive.
Yep, and again, as we talked about, the name of the game is just delaying it, but Hwalp is in the area, buffing level 5 right now. Galliusi and Saknon both at level 6, so they can buy enough time. If Nocturne happens to show up bot, that means that Lychee could get into the area.
Yeah, they're not exactly in a diveable position either. They're actually doing a really good job holding the wave just outside the turret range, and they're just buying time, right? Valley's winning out, crushing it, absolutely crushing in this top lane. And in the mid lane with the Ziggs as well, your skilling is good. You're not too worried about that, and you can continue to keep Sam at range. Sam is just farming up. Really no kill threat whatsoever mid.
Yeah, Hwalp is level 7 right now, and Lychee had headed back up to the top side here, but there's really not much ability to dive here. Saknom going to walk up, land the root as they're ready to go. They're going to knock up Ming, but look onto the backside. They get onto the Varus. Varus is going to get shut down. Ziggs bomb coming in, but Ming with a really nice flash. Saknom down to about half HP, but they cannot continue. They'll take their shutdown and try to get out, but Fox is on the way. Ming is sticking around. See if who Fox wants to target. Ming going to get a shield. They realize that maybe they can go in here. Hwalp is going to go forward. That Monsoon's going to come out to heal everybody up. Fox is going to be able to get away, but Saknom is forced to flash. Ming is going to follow up. Did he get the last auto attack off? Ming sells out for the auto attack and goes down to Fox, and Buffing flashes and picks up the shutdown.
Oh my goodness, a game of inches there, Yanni, between both of these teams. Really well played mechanically, and the fact that Brooklyn was so low on health, stuck around, they were trying to bait people in. Galliusi and Saknom as well. Literally just 3 seconds off. If they waited 3 more seconds, Hwalp would have just recalled. They wasted so much time for Hwalp, but because they were 3 seconds too early, Hwalp actually able to find that kill. And Brooklyn, at the end of the day, I think that was what, a 3-for-1, a 2-for-1? They're going to be happy with that trade on Brooklyn. That is worthwhile for them.
Yeah, it's not bad. There are a couple of issues though, right? Ming, no summoners available. Galliusi on his first item, saw an opportunity and took it. Sam now using his claw to clear the wave, forced to flash away, forced to drop his ultimate down, but guess what? All the CC in the world is going to get layered on top of you, and it doesn't matter how much health you have or how long you delay it, death arrives all the same.
That was an eternity and a half. That frozen tomb just lasted forever. Isn't the song supposed to like the Washer of Eternal Ice or something like that? Indeed, lived up to that name. That was an eternal CDC, and all Sam could do was watch.
Yeah, and that's real bad news because Fox able to push this in. The good news is Sam does have teleport to be able to get back to the wave, but that means Hwalp has the cover, so that means grubs are going to be free here for the side of Purdue Gold, right? Them getting 5 grubs is going to be absolutely massive for the champions that they have, RMC.
Yeah, and they've just buffed Void Grubs this patch too, 14.8. It does a little bit more damage now, and you only need 4 to spawn the little Voidlings. So, for the side of Purdue Gold, they get 5. They'll get it either way. The push, as you mentioned, is going to be strong. Ziggs as well, a really, really strong pusher. The moment it gets to 20% health, you just terminate that turret right away. They're trying to gank Fox in the mid lane. He has no flash.
They do get on top of him, and now here comes the Nocturne. Trying to help him out, but Nocturne's going to be able to get that kill. Now it's a 3v2 for right now. Lychee trying to do what he can to get some damage out, but there's not too much damage getting onto him. Saknom going to land a double knock-up, ignite down on the Lissandra. Lissandra going to get engaged on him. But a great Typhoon means that Lychee goes down, and Sam stays alive, and it's now Saknom trying to get away, but he's tethered and feared, and Hwalp just has to chase him down. What a game for Buffing, by the way, who takes that kill with an auto.
Second time we've seen Buffing actually get the kill onto Saknom with a last-minute skill, and our auto. Dragon is up right now, but despite Hwalp being healthy, everybody else is too low, and Valley walking all the way down from top lane after taking first break is going to be able to chase everybody off.
Yeah, and why not? You still have your teleport available. You've got your 1-item spike here with Ravenous.
Yeah.
You've got a huge lead. If you can make a play, do it. They try to make a play on the Galliusi. He will get ignited, but he does
Oh,
keep his summoners, and he's
Galushi!
going to walk right into Hulp. Galusi's got to try to get away. He will flash. He gets tagged by Ming, who slides in to take the kill, but now Ming is on the wrong side of the tracks. Saknam and Lychee trying to get on top of him. Ming with the ghost, and he is able to put some distance between himself and Lychee.
Yeah, and Brooklyn just finding play after play. We talked about how Whelp on this Nocturne had to have impact with his ultimate. And honestly, I think he's done a great job so far. Gank into the bot side, gank into the mid lane, both times resulted in multiple kills and or great pressure. Unfortunately, once again, despite the great bot side play, despite finding Galayushi, they still have no angle on this dragon. And Purdue will still be the team to pick up the objective.
Well, we'll see about that, RMC, as that dragon decided it really didn't want to go down. It wanted to cause a couple of problems. All right, the good news is
there we go.
The dragon has realized I know what I am here for. It's become self-aware. It knows its function in the game is to just die.
That's such a sad fate, Yanni. Just to be self-aware, just to realize that, yeah, my fate in this game is to die. Also, that's Minions'
that's
jobs.
mine.
Dragon,
that's
stop
mine
taking
too
our
when
job.
I play League.
I'm glad we don't play League together, Yanni.
Hey, listen, just because I got demoted to gold the other day doesn't mean I'm bad. It means I'm
Demoted,
terrible.
brother? I got promoted to gold.
I lost too many games, man. All right, what can I say? I'm not what I used to be. All right, that's why I talk about League of Legends, not play League of Legends. Getting back to talking about League of Legends, 14 minutes means the Rift Herald is up and available, and with 5 grubs, I'd imagine this is going to be a big priority here for Purdue Gold.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Brooklyn, you can tell that they are not set up to take this whatsoever. Ming and Buffing are not rotating up to that top side. And unfortunately, Princeton right now is rather behind as well. So hasn't completed first item, had to go with a bit of a mixed build with the Bramble Vest and the Balmy Cinder. There's no control up here. And for that, Purdue have had a lock on these objectives. Both Dragons, both sets of Void Grubs, and Herald to boot.
Yeah, it's really difficult that this happens to be their matchup, and credit to Purdue for putting together a good team comp that takes advantage of grubs and saying, you know what, we're going to put Valley on a good carry matchup here, and we're going to just control the top side of the map. We're going to take all your grubs, right? We're going to take the Rift Herald. And a good on Whelp for recognizing that early on, realizing, hey, I need to take a grub. But guess what? It doesn't matter anymore, right? You got your 1 grub, but the grubs spawn when there's 4 now for a team. So you gotta take 3 at least. So this is going to cause some problems as the game progresses. You haven't quite seen it yet, but you're starting to see the way that Purdue is going to win this game. So RMC, I challenge you here. What does Brooklyn have to do to regain control in this game and kind of because before we get into that, the goal doesn't look too different, the kills don't look too different, but you can tell the team compositions, they're very, very different here, and it looks like it's a disadvantage for Brooklyn.
Yeah, it definitely is. We talked about the composition for Brooklyn. We talked about how, dive comps can be really strong. They kind of go in and find the targets to pick. One thing we didn't talk about was the weakness of that composition. A dive comp only operates one way. We said they have one button. They have to mash it really, really, really hard. What happens if the button doesn't work? Then your comp is shafted. And that's the problem with the dive composition. You have to be ahead to make those dives work. If you start to fall too far behind for the dive to work, there really isn't a way back in, barring praying that the enemy team throws. Now, Brooklyn's not in that situation yet. A lot of their goal deficit is coming from the top lane. They still have strength on Whelp and on Ming on that bot side. So if anything, what I need to see Brooklyn do is start to group up and use that dive composition. Start finding these picks before you fall further and further behind. And more importantly, before Valley starts rolling further and further ahead.
Yeah, that's a great thing that you're going to want to see out of Brooklyn. And one thing that we're going to want to see is some League of Legends, but we're not going to be able to do that right now because of continued spectator issues. So we're going to take a break. I don't know when we're going to be back. I don't know what game we're going to even be calling, but we're going to figure it out. We will, at the very least, be back for game 2. So put us on in another window. Just keep the sound on, so when we're back. Watch the Running the Rift Combine. Grab yourself a snack, a drink. Celebrate that LCS is now going to be best of 3s while we try to put out some fires on the back end. We hope that we'll see you for game 2. Welcome back, everybody, to NECC Nationals. More Champions Division action. We saw half of a really good game one between Brooklyn College Maroon and Purdue Gold. Honestly, can't tell how good that game was, but all I know was that ultimately Purdue Gold came out on top. And now backs against the wall for Brooklyn College Maroon here in game two.
Yeah, teams are on the same side. And Yanni, a quick summary of what happened in the last game. As
Please,
we've been told, it got apparently really, really close. We went 15 kills apiece. When we left the game, Purdue was ahead against Brooklyn's dive composition, which was a bad position, frankly, for Brooklyn. But they actually fought back on the back of Hope and Ming, finding those engages, finding those picks into the back line, and it came down to a really close one. We've been told by Fox that apparently it came down to a team fight where Fox managed to stop Princeton's engage on that Zach, kind of baited Whelp a little bit to go in because the idea was both of them to go for that dive. They end up taking Whelp, and from there, hey, with the numbers advantage, it was just kind of easy for Purdue to roll their way through. So based on that, Yanni, I'm expecting to see either a Nocturne or a Kaisa ban come through from Purdue here.
Yeah, the one thing I really, really liked during your astute explanation here was that Fox mentioned that he was able to stop Princeton's engage. Remember, we kind of mentioned that there's a couple champions on the side of Purdue Gold that would be able to snuff out those Zach engages. And if you can prevent him from slingshotting in, well, he's just a blob that's got to walk around, do some slapstick, and that's about it. Taking a look at the bands, they're going to keep things the same for Purdue Gold here. On the other side, this Fiora will get taken off the board this time around. It does mean that Aatrox that was banned originally is in play, and Brooklyn College, they're going to go back to the Zach.
And Yanni, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? The Zach.
Wait a minute, hold on. Are you? It was broke though. They did not win the game.
Well, kind of. I mean, if it comes down to a single play backfiring, and the fact that Brooklyn actually clawed their way back into that series from being down 2,000 gold at, what was that, like 15, 20 minutes? I think that comp's okay. And I think that you can continue to use that. Now, my concern is, though, that Princeton did struggle immensely on the Zach. Even if you take out the Fiora, there's still plenty of picks that can make it a very, very rough time for Princeton. This role swapped support, pardon me. Purdue, well, yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They really are holding to that one because they did win, as you pointed out, Yanni, and they have just picked the exact same R1, R2.
I mean, we're not going to get a full salty run back here because of the Fiora getting banned, but
true.
We could get 9/10 of a salty run back, perhaps.
Yep.
It could be 9/10 of your daily percentage of sodium. Oh. We are going to see a little bit of a wrinkle come in here. This Renata Glaskin, so far against the two champions that Purdue are showing, I think it's a fantastic pick.
Yeah, 80% of the salty run back. And Yanni, we talked about the Renata potentially as another support that would have good disengage. But hold up, we were just talking about, okay, Fiora's off the table. Zach still has some bad matchups. And Yanni, I don't know if you've ever seen blobs or ooze, jello being chucked in a blender. Have you ever seen that?
Ooze or jelly beans, you said?
Jelly, ooze, jello, like chucked in a blender?
No, I have not seen that go in a blender. But
okay,
well, you will. Lucky enough to do so today. Yeah.
Yeah, Dare's being locked in right there. And it surprises me that we see the Renata there, actually. Because while it's a decent pick, I actually would have preferred to see the Nocturne being picked up right now for the dive. Instead, you didn't, and now Purdue gets to ban it.
Yeah, and you know what? If they want to ban that, that's totally fine. As you mentioned, though, having a dive with Renata would have been good, and I don't think Renata would have been on their radar to take out here. And this is good banning here out of Purdue Gold, right? That you get rid of that Ari as well. Yep. So the Nocturne Ari combination is not going to be there. And from what we saw out of the Lysandra, obviously we didn't get too deep into the game. It didn't feel like it was the most impactful selection. So I am hoping that Sam is able to get on something a little bit different, something that'll cause a little bit more chaos in the team fights, but not be so glacially slow in the early mid game, as Galayushi is gonna pull out the Draven, the former blood brothers, because Draven doesn't have a bleed passive anymore. Sure. Showing up on the Rift here in 2024.
Yanni, what bleeding do you need? The Axe just straight up beheads people with it spinning away there, and they are still brothers. I'm so happy we get to see this. We were talking about Galayushi. We talked about the Draven buffs. And last game, to be honest, Galayushi did not have a good time on that Varus. Went lethality, but lethal tempo, and kind of got bullied out by the Kaisa. Now, with the Draven, that is a pick that can go 1v2. The big catch, of course, is surviving or dodging out on Renata's crowd control.
Yeah, and one other thing that's going to be important is Renata's bailout in this matchup going to be really, really big because early on, sometimes
Sure.
when you're playing against a Draven, you're just like, darn, I almost had him. If only I had a little bit more health. Well, Renata says, I have a bunch more health, right? And if you're able to actually turn that around, reverse the play onto the Draven, reverse that pressure, get the kill instead, set him behind. That'll be something to watch out for. An interesting thing that we didn't really get to talk about, Lissandra's going to be back in the mid lane here. We're going to see it
Yep.
paired up with a Graves. I got to be honest, I'm not really a big fan of it. I do like seeing the Graves come out here for Whelp. We mentioned that plays a pretty solid Graves. But again, this Lissandra just, it seems like they're really dead set on this pick. They're going to need it to do big things in this game if they want to keep their hopes alive here in Nationals.
Agreed, Yanni, and I'm actually a little bit more concerned about the Sandra this game than I was last game. Last game, it makes sense. You want to dive composition. She does that, right? And she can follow in with the Nocturne. This game, with the Graves, Graves is not as good a diver. Like, yes, he can find some oblique angles to enter from. Yes, he is fairly mobile, can go in with everybody else. Yes, dashing in gives him more armor. But what's your engage right now for Brooklyn, right? It's the Kai'Sa going in with the Zac. And if Princeton gets shut down in lane, I fear for Brooklyn trying to force their way in with this composition.
Yeah, and the thing with Brooklyn is they're going to have similar problems up in the top lane, right? Because,
Worse even.
yeah, it is going to be worse because, Darius isn't just a straight up split pusher, right? Darius will be able to join some fights, make an impact, has Ghost available to be able to run into these team fights, spin around with his giant axe, and deal a bunch of damage. So, that is one thing to watch out for. And, if you give him a farm lead, he's going to be able to convert it in team fights easier than a Fiora will.
Yeah, and it's scary too trying to dive into a Darius. Darius's biggest issue traditionally is that he can't actually reach the fight, right? Kite away from him. He doesn't have any dashes into fights. He's got flash and ghost summoners. That's it. So if you can kind of peel back, you're fine. But a dive comp wants to go in. And even Graves in this situation, Graves actually kind of still wants to dash in there, get into the middle of the fight. But if you dash into a Darius, well, you're not dashing back out.
Yeah, it's just you go in and you have to win the fight. And if you don't win the fight, well, I hate to tell you this, and beware from my high level analysis here. That means you lose the fight.
True. Yeah, and that is fair enough. I mean, it does come down to that simple an equation, really, when you take a look at Darius in the top side. Now, we see Valley looking to try and cut Princeton off, but Princeton wisely taking his time coming back to lane. You can afford to lose CS. You don't want to lose experience, and you don't want to give kills over. So avoiding that level 1 trap.
Yeah, and on the other side, right, Valley actually dropped a minion to try and be able to do something to Princeton at level 1. And if you're the Darius here, you want the gold. You don't really care that much about the EXP because you're going to have some sort of a lead at the very least. You want that gold lead. You're seeing Ming and buffing, hitting level 2 first, but early trades made life a little hard. Eliushi, both of his axes are going to look to fall off here as the hook goes down from Saknam, but again, because they're still level 1, can't follow up on it.
Yeah, a bit of good poke. And for the side of Ming and buffing, you have to be a little bit careful. Level 2s now hit as well. There's still a nice big wave, but Draven with the spinning axes can very quickly push out. And once that wave gets thin, that's when you get worried, because if Saknam lands a hook, even with the ignite down, there is still a massive ton of kill pressure.
Yeah, interesting to note that these junglers both going to be on the bottom side of the map. Graves getting to his red buff and Lychee on the other side, still with 3 full camps down there. So we'll see if these junglers are going to interact with each other at all. We'll see if these bot lanes end up causing a 3v3 to break out in a little bit, RMC.
And I'm curious to see as well if Lychee will skip a camp to kind of accelerate this bot side gank. At level 3 already, Xin Zhao is very, very strong. And if you don't skip a camp, Graves is a very fast clear. So Graves will get there first.
Yeah, it's just a matter of what direction they take, right? They do ping out Lychee here. They are aware of his presence. You can see Ming and buffing. Going to back off a little bit. Whelp in the area as well. But that means that Lychee should have control over this Scuttle Crab. Whelp might want to fight him for it, but Lychee will just take it himself.
Yeah, I really like that call. But bot side, we are committing into this.
That was a really good handshake, but here is Whelp trying to turn this one around. Galiusi trying to get away. He gets smoke screen. They're going to turn on to Saknam now. Lychee going to try to do what he can to help him out, but it's going to be first blood going over to Ming on the other side. Saknam desperately trying to get away by hooking the wall, but he's going to get rained on here, and it's going to be Whelp picking up a kill. So Brooklyn College coming up big early, but Valley, the 1v1 victory.
Okay, so Purdue did pick strong early lanes on both sides. Actually, I'll hold the thought as Fox is very far up. Does have flash available?
Yeah, it does get smoke screen, so if Sam wants to go in, he will flash and freeze him down. It's a good scout of the week, but I don't know if he's going to be able to find a way out. They're just trying to slow him up a little bit more. Flash handshake forces the flash out of Fox. Really well played by the Syndra.
Yeah, and I was thinking too, Fox is trying to bait as far as they can. We saw Lychee and Saknam starting to rotate a little bit towards that topside jungle to cover. If they could have stalled long enough, there could have been the turn, but not, unfortunately, in the cards. Galayushi right back into the bot lane. And let's go back to the point we were talking about, the strong side lanes for Purdue. You picked Darius to win the lane. You picked Draven to win the lane. First blood was on Galayushi.
Sam's all right, but that's a great stop of the back there because Fox gets back first.
True. Yeah, I was actually really worried that Sam would just die there. If Fox was there, that would have been a kill. Galayushi did not get first blood. In fact, got first blooded. So you lost that bot side pressure that Purdue wanted to get. The skill from Draven isn't amazing. And Valley up top did get a kill, but you saw how low Valley was. That's not the ideal start that Purdue wants to have. We'll see if they're able to kind of rectify that. A kill, still a kill up top.
Yep, and he is going to pick up the call, right? So Valley knows that I am going to have a free lane to be able to farm up, cash in on that extra gold later on. So have to keep an eye on that. One really interesting thing is that Ming didn't get a chance to back, so still has a lot of gold in the pockets, and Galayushi does have the long sword over him, but buffing does not have flash right now. So a hook from Saknam can really cause a lot of problems. You can see Lychee is in the area with the dragons going on. And look at that. Buffing gets hooked up. Who's going to be the target? They're going to go on to Buffing. It's a bit of a split focus here, but Buffing will be the one, and he will burn away with that bailout. Cannot bail yourself out. Galayushi gets the kill.
And they don't check the dragon. Yanni, Walt was managed to sneak in from behind, and with the Graves, you can take it relatively quickly compared to quite a few other junglers. But you do get pretty low on health, and Purdue not checking that will come back to bite them. Drake will get picked up. They'll realize now. And Ocean Drake with regeneration in lane, that is exactly what the doctor ordered for Brooklyn to be able to survive a little bit better.
100%. They're definitely going to need it. Princeton's going to need it. Ming and Buffing are going to need it on the bottom side, but that is a very, very scary kill going over to that Draven. I imagine he cashed out for at least a little bit there. Ming finally gets to go in and get a buy, but take a look at all the swords of the inventory of this Draven.
How many daggers? How many swords do you want? Yes. Oh, you should coming back. Yeah, 4 of them, right? We've got Serrated Dirk, Duran's Blade, 2 longswords. The build path for Draven with lethality is really, really nice as well. So even if Ming gets first blood, you have to sink into a Noon Quiver, which is good for farming, not so great for the duels and the scraps. So despite the fact that Galayushi did give over first blood, despite the fact that he is behind in experience in CS, I still think that Purdue's bot side should be the stronger in a flat-out 2v2.
Yeah, and they can continue to pick on Buffing if they want, right? Heal's about to come up with that. Flash is still down. Saknam has Ignite. Galayushi has both summoners available. And you can see Saknam wants to pick on Buffing here. Who's going to be the target? Buffing getting chunked out to about half. The Ignite goes down onto Ming. And Galayushi is a little low, trying to get out as much damage as possible. Needs to try to pop, but Ming manages to survive. The bailout, though, will fall off. Perfectly timed by Saknam. And now Saknam is going to pick up a double kill here if he can just land this hook. And he does take it down. It's a double kill for the support.
I just want to point out, too, that hook is not really in doubt. With the big lollipopping that hook always gets, and without boots for buffing, I don't think we saw the other boots picked up till after. I could be wrong with that. But if you don't have the tier 2 boots, it's actually really hard to dodge out on that hook. So Saknam picking up both kills, and Yanni, I feel like we've seen this before. And Saknam, hey, that's support who can leverage early kills.
Yeah, but you'd much rather them be on the Draven, right? Like, as much as you are like, hey, I want them. As Sam is going to go in, doesn't realize that Saknam is there. Whalp in the area. Lychee here. They bought the items that bring their team to their beck and call, but Saknam is going to be the one to go down. Now Lychee's going to be the next target. He's going to go back in onto Buffing, but he gets bursted out as well. It's a double kill for Whalp.
And you got to love how Brooklyn is so willing to scrap. Last game, they had to wait for that level 6 for help to really come online with the Nocturne. This time with the Graves, they don't need that. Right from the get-go, he's willing to scrap. He is level 6 as well, which is why they pick up those kills so incredibly quickly. And Brooklyn, let's not forget, they almost managed to turn it last game through just being willing to fight.
Sam is taking a lot of damage here. A couple more autos might do it. Fox does have enough mana for a Q and will burn the flash to get the kill. Well played there, but Whalp is looking for kill number 4. Scout of the week, no stun, forces the flash out of Whalp. He will be able to pick up his 4th kill of the game.
And this game is all Whalp all day right now. 4 of the 6 kills onto Help. 5 out of 6 kill participation as well, only matched by buffing. That is a good person, a good player, and a good champion to get all that gold onto for the side of Brooklyn. And he's been everywhere, right? He's been bot lane ganking. He's been mid lane ganking. I almost kind of want to see him go to that top side because I think Princeton has been doing better this game. And maybe you can try and shut down Valley with that advantage you have. Maybe.
Yeah, well, you just said he's doing okay this game, but Princeton doesn't have many places to
He
go.
gets run
Fully
down.
stacked, bleed, passive, dunk. You flashed it, but you're going to go down anyway. And the blobs are out. Valley going to set him up to knock him down. 2 kills for him. Ming's going to die under the turret to Galiusi. In the blink of an eye, RMC, a caster cursed him.
Well, these are Draven things. Hope is looking for this bot
He's got a
side,
collector.
though.
He's going to slide in. Hook does not land. Whop going to be the target, but Whop has way too much damage. That collector putting in tons of work. Leechy, at least in the area, to make sure that the Nautilus stays alive.
Yeah, and you saw the burst damage that came down on both Galiushi and Saknam simultaneously. This is why I think that Whelp actually has a chance at handling Valley up top. Richest person in the game. Actually, the second richest being Valley. So this Darius is still applying a crap ton of pressure.
Yeah, and this Darius will be impactful later, as we both know. It's just a matter of what can Whelp do in the meantime to bring his team into the game, into the next millennium, right? And, equalize what Valley can do, because he has not paid attention to the top laner, Princeton, here, and it's been rough, right? Like, you knew that it was probably going to be a little rough, but you do have to wonder, RMC, is it the correct decision to leave your top laner floundering on an island?
To be fair to Princeton, right now he's down a metric ton of CS, but he's keeping even in experience, and the turret plating is the other thing I'm looking at right now, Yanni. The fact that Princeton has only lost 1 plate, that's actually a pretty good situation to be in up against this Darius, and you don't need that much gold as a Zac collapse into the mid lane from Brooklyn.
Could not land the Ring of Frost, but let's see if Princeton wants to go in great scout of the week. Means that help and buffing can't do anything more.
Valley now wrapping around. Princeton has to take the safe route, but how safe is Princeton going to be? Looping all the way around will be fine. Dragon is up and on the table. I mean, with that rotation from Brooklyn, they could just go for the Dragon instead.
See if that is where they want to go. Buffing and Saknam. I'm just going to do a little bit of damage here. You got to be careful, though, because Galiusi does a heck of a lot. Does have that hubris in the inventory. I'm going to see the Grubs go over to the side of Purdue here. Meanwhile, second Dragon of the game will go over to Brooklyn College. A nice pair of dragons, if I do say so myself, Arms.
Definitely, and very stark contrast from last game, where it was Purdue just controlling everything. Saknam, great hook.
Goes down. This is going to be a big problem. There goes the Berserk. Is he going to try to kill Saknam? But Saknam stays alive. But Saknam does not live, because over the wall, the collateral damage, able to pick up the kill.
Yeah, unfortunately, a second too late. The bell doesn't tick through, and buffing does go down. Galiushi able to cash out on that one. Some much needed gold for that Draven. Sam not able to quite interrupt the back from Fox right now, who has the TP, can get right back into lane. And Galiushi?
He knows Walt was here, so he's trying to just
baiting.
Burn more time from this Graves, right? Keep him down here where you're not going to go down. And Walt realized he was being played for a fool.
Yeah, I was thinking too, like, that's an interesting choice from Galiushi. A good read from Help to actually recognize that. I wouldn't have been able to recognize that in his shoes. I just have sat around waiting, getting baited, looking for that one. Valley just punishing Princeton a little bit. Keep in mind, Princeton, no passive. So if you drop low enough, between the bleed and the execute, you could get dropped very quickly.
See if the bot laner is going to get dropped here. Saknam is looking to go in here. Lands the root on the buffing. Bomb is in the area. Leechy trying to do what they can to get on top of Ming. Ming going to get bailed out. Galiushi, though, down to about half HP. On the backside, it's Ming looking for a little bit more damage. Galiushi very low, and he's going to go down. It's going to be Hual picking up that kill. The next target's going to be Saknam as he flashes away. Manages to go down, though. Hual able to get that kill, a double kill for him. And up in the top lane, from a prince to a peasant, as Valley is 3-0.
And not only did he get the kill, Valley picks up the turret.
Here comes
as
Fox.
well. Can they get away? There's no
Yeah,
hope
let's
now.
see. Scout of the week doesn't quite land. Ming is going to get the bailout. He's going to be able to find the kill, but Unleashed Power going to take him down. And now it's up to Buffing to try to find a way to dodge out on all these abilities from Syndra. You can dodge all you want. You can run, but you can't hide in that bush. This is a double kill for Fox.
Scouted of the week. No orb needed. Just able to kind of punch out there. And right now, Yanni, Brooklyn, it's all Whelp all day. We said it earlier, and it continues to be the case. And that's not a good sign for them because Whelp can only be on one side of the map at a time. When he's bot side, top side's bleeding out. The moment he leaves from the top side, we see the rotate down from Fox. Purdue is playing well, away from Whelp the best they can. And, well, Whelp is really, really strong. I need to start seeing Whelp either give other people gold, or I need to see Brooklyn start playing together as a group around Whelp instead.
Yeah, it feels like Whelp is playing around everybody else instead of everybody playing around Whelp, right? And the good news for Brooklyn College is that it has paid off, right? He's very strong. He's on 2 items. You can hang your hat on him, but the problem is if he's not going to be around for one fight, it'll be a problem. He is here for this one. He's going to try to get away. Great ultimate coming out. Sam getting in there as well, trying to CC everybody up. He will be able to survive for right now. Valley down to about half HP, but is looking to kill Sam. Sam goes down. Princeton flies in as they manage to find Valley. Sackdom is going to go down. Scout of the Week forced to be used, and on the other side, it's Galiusi trying to get away from Princeton as Brooklyn College run that fight.
And it's just that easy, Yanni. I say that as Whelp finally gets taken down. Huge shutdown going the way of Fox. And here I was thinking, just play to Whelp. You win the fight. They won the fight, but then they scattered right after and Whelp got isolated.
Really nice play there by Fox. 4-1 on this Syndra now. We were talking a lot about Valley, but now you got to start talking about Fox because look at that inventory. They're getting close to that Rabadon's death cap. They haven't even hit their Splinter's power spike, right? You get the little mini Rabadons, and all of a sudden you're dealing tons of damage.
Yeah, and the Syndra is only going to get stronger as we continue seeing those splinters stack. One thing we should probably talk about, Yanni, we kind of mentioned it, that last game, it came on Fox, stopping and engage from Princeton with a satchel charge, a very difficult skill to actually pop off in a clutch situation like that. This game, we saw Fox already deny Princeton one engage. Now we've seen Fox take out Whelp as well with that R. There is zero counterplay. And I'm a little bit concerned for Brooklyn, and I need to see an answer to this Syndra. So far, we haven't been able to see that, and if Whelp is not an answer, then that's when I think Purdue start to take over this game.
Might need an answer for that Darius as well. We're seeing Fox on the bottom side here. Great dodge, but he's caught between everybody. He's got to try to find a way out. He's going to get ulted by darn near everyone. Sam will barely be able to survive. It's a shutdown going over from Ming.
I like the idea there from Brooklyn. They show us that, hey, there are still answers from Fox. Yes, it might take 4 people, but we made it work. Problem is they lose Herald on that, and they're kind of low. So they don't even really have full prio over this Dragon. That TP from Sam certainly helps. And for Purdue, if they can stall like another 5 seconds after it spawns, Fox will be back up and has TP to match.
Yeah, the problem is Galiushi does have to back, doesn't have enough mana to be able to be in this fight. Brooklyn College are going to have to make a play onto this Dragon. You can't really wait too long. Don't want Purdue Gold to be able to get on the map here. You want to put yourself on that soul point, but Valley has already moved down. Rift Herald getting used in the mid lane as the engagement goes on to Sam, and they use everything on Sam, and Sam gets dunked.
Okay, I need that brand of blender that Valley is, because my blender got ruined by ice cubes, and he had no problem cutting through Lissandra in that Frozen Tomb. Dragon does go the way of Brooklyn, but Purdue still have the inside track on it.
Rift Herald gonna go down. Dragon gonna go over to Brooklyn College though. So you lose out on your mid laner, you lose the mid lane turret, but you don't give anything else up. You put yourself on soul point, especially with an Infernal Soul. You give Whelp an opportunity to try and steal the Dragon if it comes down to it later, and give your team soul, give your team what they need. You're also talking about, you know, it's only Whelp, but not anymore, as Ming is starting to get pretty big.
True. Ming quietly, well, not so quietly in the lane, really, getting a bunch of kills, which has put them in a good position. Problem is they just lost a whole ton of gold. Valley just denies the engage on Princeton.
It's pulled back in, but the Ghost will get popped. Swamp want to go for more here. I think Valley's just going to be able to outrun him. One thing to note, RMC, look at the turrets that went down like dominoes. They went from one turret going down to 5, I think.
Yeah. I didn't quite count how many. Might be 5 yet, though, as Fox is pressuring down here, and Sam is not healthy enough to safely dissuade them. Has bought enough time with the wave clear, though, and we are seeing Ming and Buffing rotate towards the spot side.
See if they're able to make a play onto Fox. Fox, who has no flash right now, would be a nice little, cheeky little pick, but you force him off for now, and it's all good. So the bleeding has finally stopped for the moment for Brooklyn College, but they are still down about 3,000 gold, and it's a deficit that they're going to certainly need to make up. You even see the Hex Drinker coming out for Whelp. That's how you know he's in desperation mode. You need an answer for this syndrome.
Well, Yanni, I don't know if the bleeding's really stopped yet. The hemorrhage stacks will keep stacking. Valley just needs to get into those fights. Valley is split pushing right now, and that is a bit of a problem because we've seen already from Brooklyn. I like what they're doing. They recognize that, hey, this is not the dive comp it was last game, but we're still really strong when we group up. We were just talking about play around hope. They did exactly that. The big problem for them, though, is that Purdue has so much pressure on the entire map. So wherever Brooklyn is triaging, the other side of the map starts to bleed. And Value right now with that split push, no one can answer that, right? Like, Huop can't actually handle the 1v1. It's with the rest of the team that Huop is able to shut down Valley. But if you send more people there, the rest of Purdue just pushing your mid lane, pushing your bot lane, wherever they're looking to make plays. And Purdue now kind of actually sat in a bush trying to set up a death rush. I don't know if that's necessarily what would work for you. Yes, you've got a lot of pick potential, but I feel like that's how Brooklyn catches you off guard and bursts you down.
Yeah, you don't want to get hit with the hostile takeover, right? You don't want to get 4 people knocked up by Princeton. They're going to try to siege down this mid turret. Lissandra not in the area. No teleport available. Knockup going to go down on to Ming for right now. Let's see if he can survive. Huop doing what he can to keep people away. Darius trying to push forward. A good handshake from Buffing. Will be able to walk out.
Fox arriving from the side. Both teams kind of facing down on that 5v5. Only objective, neutral objective on the map to take right now is that Baron on that top side, and we're seeing Brooklyn kind of shade towards it. I fear they don't have the damage, though, to take it right now. So for Purdue, they're not worried. They can continue pushing up mid.
Yeah, Huop can't even clear out that pink ward that is taunting them, that bush right outside of their jungle as Purdue just a bully their way to map control here on the top side and in the mid lane right now.
They take a bit of damage early.
Sam is going to be on the wrong side of the tracks here, but is going to be able to pop his ultimate and stay alive for right now. Here comes the hostile takeover. It's going to hit Fox, but it doesn't hit Galiusi. Fox forced to flash away. Ming going super deep, and Ming picks up a kill. Galiusi dropping his ultimate down, trying to take him out, but he can't. The turret will fall. Shutdown actually did go over to Galiusi, and on the backside, it's Valley who has flash available. Huop trying to get it on Galiusi, who's forced to flash away, but he's alive for right now. Valley trying to do what he can. Dunks on Sam. Sam going golden. Huop still alive for right now, but a lot of low health bars. Can Valley pick up the kill? Bailout goes down onto Huop, but Huop bleeds out. Valley is going to take down Buffing as well for a triple kill.
And as much as we talk about, well, Valley right now is the absolute beast in the backline. Kept everybody back. Last man standing, 8-1-1. Steric's not even popped, and for Brooklyn, there's just so many threats. The end gauge was good. I can't fault them for anything wrong, really, after when all said and done. But Valley lives, Valley's tanking, Valley's starting up Baron.
Yeah, it seemed like everything went wrong for Brooklyn there. Valley wasn't actually able to take out Sam with the Noxian Guillotine. Was not able to unlock it, right? So couldn't dunk everybody back and forth and play whack-a-mole. TP coming in for Sam here. They're looking to stop this Baron. Baron down to about 1,000 HP. Can Sam steal it away? It's so low, but it's secured by Fox. And now Sam is in a world of trouble. But here comes Ming. Gonna cause some problems. Leechy's in the middle of the fight. Valley's still alive for right now as Ming gets knocked up. Now Leechy's trying to walk out, but Valley goes down. The rest of the team is here. So is Galiusi. Scout of the week, gonna keep them away for now. And they're gonna be able to force off Purdue. But the big thing, look at the bottom lane, RMC.
Yeah, that's Infernal Soul that we're seeing Huop just kind of go through. Baron is temporary, Soul is forever, and the Infernal Soul on a team that already has so much burst damage, when Ming has been able to pop off and just assassinate Gala, Yushi, and Fox in some of these fights, is going to feel really good for Brooklyn. So despite the fact they lose the Baron, they kind of lose out on that push. If you're Brooklyn, I think you're still okay with this.
Yeah, because now there's not a whole lot that Purdue is actually able to use with this Baron, at least for right now. They've got negative wave states in the mid lane and about to be in the bot lane, and only thing favorable is up top, but you've got no teleports to actually do anything. Great job here by Brooklyn to prevent Galiusi from getting on the ground, and whelping out his bottom laner, pulling him in. 3.5 items right now. RMC, we may have a game on our hands.
We definitely do. I mean, 21-19. Game 1 was spicy too. Sam goes in.
Yeah, Sam does have the Frozen Tomb. No, it goes down, actually, and Sam's going to go golden once again here. Valley is going to be the target. He's getting bursted out. He's very low, but this is a 3v5. It's going to be a kill. Saknam trying to get away, but Saknam goes down as Galiusi is forced to run away. 2 kills for Huop as Purdue caught with their pants down.
Fox still in the backline, looking for Fission, but is spotted out by wards. Has to be careful. You're not the most mobile as a Syndra.
Yeah, buffing is really fast. Flash
Oh!
handshake does not land, though.
But once again, Yanni, they're able to stall the Baron. I still thought there was a chance that Purdue could leverage that Baron for a push, but huge props to Brooklyn. They are not afraid of Valley. They recognize that, hey, last fight, Valley survived because we were distracted, because we were split. This time, everybody who goes in with the numbers advantage, they immediately focus, burn down the Darius. And once Valley's down, Lychee right now just doesn't feel like the front line that Galileushi needs to be saved. That was Valley. And so they can just keep on rolling, shut that down, and next thing you know, it's too late to get any sort of push with that Baron.
Yeah, they've been completely snuffed out here as Brooklyn College has to be feeling themselves a little bit, especially after the way game one went. Doesn't matter that they're down about 1,000 gold because it doesn't account for that soul. Keep in mind, we've got dueling objectives that are going to be up in 3 minutes, and while that is a long time for now in League of Legends time, RMC, where do the priorities lie for these teams?
So for Purdue right now, what's a bit unfortunate is originally they'd want to do like a 4-1 split push, and between the Draven and the Syndra and with the disengage from Crescent Guard, it'd be enough to keep the 4 safe from the dive. But Valley can be shut down, and so the 4-1 gets a little bit dicey if Valley is pushing out, and there's no easy turrets for Valley to go for. So Purdue, it does feel like, you know, you're kind of sitting back a little bit, just trying to farm up. Maybe Valley gets to push out if you can get the ward line down, and that's what I want to see from Purdue. Get the vision line. Brooklyn College, on the other hand, they're in a great state right now, but they do have to remain grouped up. Individually, they are weaker. Sam looking for the engage, finds a pick.
Galileushi gets bursted out. The Boilermakers are getting boiled alive with the might of this Infernal Soul because Brooklyn College turns up the heat. They take down the mid inner turret. They don't have any minions. They don't have any siege.
And they don't have a way to dive at Darius, unfortunately, because again, fairly short range composition. If you walk into do damage, you might get pulled by the hook. I like this rotation from Brooklyn, though. You can't fight them in a turret. Don't fight them in the jungle. Find the picks here.
They are going to find this pick. Both of them go berserk. They're going to be so mad because they're going to go down. Buffing gets the kill. Valley falls next, and it's only Fox who's alive right now. Luckily, Saknam had just respawned, but Purdue, we thought they had so much control, but they've lost all of it. Ming is going to 1v1 Fox. He doesn't give a fox about your mid laner, about your Rabadon's death cap, as now it's Brooklyn College up on the top side looking to do a little bit more.
Yeah, and they can do a lot more here. Princeton actually thinking about looking for the dive. And frankly, I think you can absolutely go for it. Ming does so much burst damage. Sam's still split pushing in the mid. They actually draws a bit of turret aggro, but I'd love to see Sam actually rotate into the base because we've seen it before. It's the combination of Sam fearlessly throwing his body in there, getting the Frozen Tomb down on Galileushi, which sets up Ming to pretty much one-shot him.
Base starting to crumble here. 2 inhibitors down. Purdue has been knocked down, but let's see how they respond. Baron in a minute. Elder Drake in a minute and 30 seconds.
Depth charge got used by Saknam and didn't catch Sam in time. So you're talking about Baron coming up? Well, Saknam doesn't have his depth charge for the preceding Baron dance. If Brooklyn wants to contest for vision, you kind of lose a bit of a pick opportunity. A little bit of a waste there. We'll see if it comes back to bite them.
See if Purdue is able to close this series out with a 2-0, or Brooklyn College is going to force a game 3, and what a game 2 it has been. Hualp. If that depth charge was available, maybe Hualp would have been in some trouble.
Exactly. Unfortunately not. Purdue still have control over the area, but it doesn't look like they want to commit to it. Good handshake from Buffing. Just to say, I'm here, just to kind of slow them down as well. And for all this pressure put up top side, let's not forget, Elder is spawning in 40 as well. So Brooklyn stall long enough, we could just handshake these 2 major objectives.
See how many handshakes the side of Brooklyn College has, because you know Buffing's got quite a few of them. Sam looking to rejoin the team, still only level 15, but
TP
is on
behind.
his 3-item spike and is going to TP him behind. Saknam going to be in a lot of trouble. He goes down. Lychee trying to do what he can, but he gets rolled over as well. Fox gets bursted out. Valley's at full HP, but how long is that going to last as Sam goes golden and Ming wins the 1v1 on the side. It's all Brooklyn College, but Valley manages to get a big shutdown. But what else can this Darius do? Noxian Guillotine is unlocked. Ming is about half HP. He's going to fly
Oh!
in, and he's going to be able to take down Valley with the Acathian Rain, and that should do it, RMC. Brooklyn College going to force game 3.
And Yanni, we missed out on game 1, but the teams will make up for it, will give us yet another game to look at, and Sack them coming up for the family photo. We'll just sit in Fountain watching the Nexus fall apart.
Nexus going down, and as legally obligated as we are, RMC, when one team wins one game and one team wins another game, I don't know if you can see it, because I can see it. We got a series on our hands, my friend. Really, what a fantastic showing. Hwalp willing his team to victory, and when he was struggling, when that boulder, when holding up the world like Atlas was a little too hard at times, and it was his good buddy Ming who, puts the hand on the back, puts the hand on the boulder. They have the anime moment where he looks at him and he goes, "Ming, is that you?" "Yes, it is, my friend. We will force game 3.
Fair enough. And Yanni, we do have to talk a lot about this combination of Ming and Hwalp, because I feel like this is what happened last game that we didn't get to see on screen. In game 1, Hwalp ended at 5-3-7. Ming ended 7-4-4. And remember how the game went. They did not have those score lines when we cut out from game 1. And here in game 2 as well, double digits kills and assists for both of these players. And for Purdue, you have really strong lanes. We've seen that. But your bot lane isn't winning. Even with the Draven, Galayushi wasn't able to take over all of this. And I think you need to start looking at banning that Kai'Sa. It really does feel like the linchpin for these compositions. Graves was good, but Kai'Sa's the one who's following up on Sam and instantly removing one player of Purdue every fight.
Yeah, it feels like if Galayushi got those 2 kills instead of Saknam, we could be talking about a different game. But the double 80 carry composition on the side of Brooklyn College is just far too strong. That's why so many people love it so much. You know what I love during a very, very long best of 3 series? Well, the fans might not like it, but I like a break. We're going to take a very short break here so I can go drink some water and check on how the 76ers are doing and take a seat. We will be right back with a draft for game 3, the final game of this best of 3 series. Stay with us or be a square. Welcome back, everybody, to NECC Nationals, the Champions Division, the first round of Nationals, and it's gone down to a nail biter here. RMC Brooklyn College Maroon versus Purdue Gold. Despite the trials and tribulations of the top lane, Brooklyn College forcing a game 3. RMC, what do you think Purdue's going to do for the strategy to change it up here in the draft for game 3?
Well, Yanni, I wouldn't have it any other way between two of the best teams in their respective divisions. Before we talk a little bit about what I think Purdue needs to change up, Yanni, let's talk a little bit about Princeton for Brooklyn, because you talk about the top lane woes for Princeton. I think Princeton's been doing incredibly well for a player who's just been forced into that top side, has to autofill, has to play a tank, is kind of first picking that Zach and play into a whole bunch of counter matchups. He's still having so much impact in those later fights, even when he's down on gold. And honestly, he hasn't even been dying that much in the later fights. So huge props to him. And kind of because of that, I feel like Purdue Gold need to change up the top side, ironically. They've been winning it, but Darius is not the same as Fiora. Fiora can backdoor. Fiora can carry. Darius, a little less so. So if anything, I actually kind of want to see Valley pick maybe the Aatrox, like something a bit more teamfight oriented, because that's what these games in this series have been coming down to.
I was thinking the same thing, especially since it was banned in game 1 and then left available in game 2 and was unpicked. So maybe we'll see that come around this time around. Still don't know what we're going to see, but I also think a couple of things need to be banned for the side of Purdue here. I think they need to be really worried about this Kaisa and this Graves, right? You can't exactly just let the Kaisa go over to Ming or let the Graves go over to Hualp, right? You saw the damage that was done in this last game. This is going to be a little weird, right? Because now, do you leave the Karma open? Do you leave the Kassadin open? Do you, dare I say, leave the Shaco open?
Yeah, that's
probably
the
not
problem.
that one.
Yeah, I feel like the Shaco is the scariest thing. But Yanni, let's not forget the Nocturne as well, right? Like it had so much impact in game 1, and that's the problem with Hope. There are too many things you need to ban against Hope, and I'm sure he still has more in his pocket. So because of that, I think you just ban the Shaco, forget the Graves and the Nocturne. If anything, I'd like to see Ming being focused out a little bit more, because we've seen the Kaisa work so well. What else does Ming have in his pocket for, I want to call it mid-game, though it has been more late-game fights coming through from Ming. But traditionally, Ming is a late-game carry. So if you take away the Kaisa, does he have anything else that can pop off quite that early?
We'll see if he's able to pull something out of the hat or if he's even restricted, right? He might just end up going back to the Kaisa. That Fiora is going to be taken off the table once again here. After that game 1 loss, they have said, you know what? We don't want to deal with this thing. It is Pange, and that gets taken off the table. So we'll have to see what other top laners get restricted. We're going to see that Camille getting taken out as well. So clearly they're making Valley go deeper into the pockets, right? You're going to start pulling out the lint. You're pulling out toenail clippers. You're pulling out, a half pack of these. I don't really know audio very well.
Audio
so
jack.
You're pulling everything out. You're pulling out, empty cough drop wrappers. We'll see what you got.
Brother, if his pocket says the same things yours do, Yanni, I am expecting some surprising things to come through from Valley, which, hey,
it's me. I'm actually the top laner.
Yanni is actually Valley all along. He's somehow casting his games while playing. We do see the Hui band still come through for Brooklyn. Same band as last game, and same bands from Purdue. So Purdue, again, we kind of said you can't afford to open any of these up. I do think they are the right band. So it's a question of what picks you want to go through. And for Brooklyn, do we see the Zach first pick again? It has been the priority the first 2 games.
Looks like the priorities have shifted. They want to make sure they get that Kaisa. Do not want Galliusi to pick that one up. So that does mean a little. Obviously, it's probably expected for Purdue Gold here that they were going to stare down this Kaisa, and now they will choose to get what answers they want into it. For the 3rd time in the series, we are going to see a Xin Zhao pickup.
Yeah, and it has been the Xin Zhao Nautilus that we've seen Purdue prioritize so highly. They're not bad picks. I still think they're perfectly fine, but Purdue thinks otherwise. And Saknam going for the Janna here is actually super interesting to me, because in lane, sure, it works great against the Kaisa. You can shield against her damage. You can shield against her poke. You can disengage with the Monsoon. But as the game goes later and later, Yanni, I fear that Janna will not have that same impact on this Kaisa.
Yeah, that does mean that things are going to be a little bit harder, but we're going to see the Zyra get picked up here. So as
Ooh.
Janna gets rooted down, you'll certainly see a lot of damage come out. And for the third straight game, it's Zac time, baby. The green goo in the top lane going to be picked up once more. Or who knows, we might even see him in the jungle, right? What if this is a
True.
flex, right? We think that it's going to be Princeton because of prior games, but it could always be a flex.
True. I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? That's my mantra. And I feel like flexing it into the jungle, I feel like would actually take away from Hope as well. Hope has been such a carry player. I want to see him on carries. I would not like to see him on this Zac, even if you somehow build AP Zac. It's not that good. Yone being picked up, and Yanni, we called for an Aatrox. Yone will do very similar things in terms of team fighting. So I really like this pick if it goes to top lane. Could also be flexed into the mid lane still for Fox.
I would be surprised if it went into the mid lane here because
So would I.
you know what? It's just an easier lane up top. You've seen it, right? Valley has had been cruising in these first two games. If there's a champion that you want to have a big impact in a game, it's Yone, the quintessential triple carry. Listen, Valley, you need to come up huge here if you want to put Purdue Gold into the next round. You are getting 3 carry picks. If you are a top laner getting 3 carry picks, you need to will your team to victory.
But Yanni, how much more can you expect from Valley? He's won
More.
both lanes incredibly well. Fair enough.
More.
We'll have to see. If anything, I'm actually looking for, I think, a little bit more from Fox because I think Fox had really good games, game 1 and 2. Actually managed to disengage some of those. But when it came time to clutch, I've seen Valley clutch in Darius. The Syndra had impact, but it felt always a little bit late to the show. Okay, another specialty pick of Gala Yushi here. We talked about Draven, Samira, and Neela. Samira was banned. Draven didn't work. We went with the Neela. Great team fighting, great AoE.
Look at me, look at me. I am the engaged now, right? As Galiushi wants to get in there with that apotheosis and raise hell. There's a couple of problems, though, right? This Ari getting picked up. Now you have to deal with the Stranglethorns from Zyra. Oh, and by the way, you're now going into a Jax with Counter-Strike. All of a sudden, this pick, this Nyla pick, getting a little exposed here as Brooklyn College has finished off their team comp. But the biggest question, RMC, is we still don't know where the Zac is going.
Okay, now we do. That would be top Yone if we do see the Talia being locked in. And besides, Fox is not really a physical damage style player. He likes his mages, so I think the Talia fits really, really well. It's an interesting adaptation, though, Yanni, because for the side of Purdue, right up to that last pick, it looked like they just wanted to go in and do big AoE, big wombo combo. But now with the Talia as well picked up, it does mean that you kind of backed away from that and said, okay, we recognize that trying to play into the Jax, into the Zyra in a massive team fight is probably not a great idea. So instead, we want to try and make picks happen, try and play for those side lanes a little bit. If you get far ahead enough with the Yone and the Neela, maybe you don't worry so much about the Jax and the Zyra.
Not overly surprising to see this Jax go in the jungle as we're on to Summoner's Rift here for the final game of this best of 3 series. You lose and you're out, you win, and you can live to fight another day. And, Jax, very great champion into a champion like Xin Zhao, right? A counter pick in the jungle, and a big reason why Jax has been played in the jungle quite a bit here. RMC, how's this going to alter this early game between these two players?
It's kind of funny because on one hand, while we say that Jax is a bit of a counter pick or is a counter pick to that Xin Zhao in the jungle, we actually often don't see the Jax go invading and actively looking for the fight against Xin Zhao. And part of that's because Jax, while good in the 1v1, isn't that tanky and really struggles in the 2v2, 3v3 situation. So I'm not expecting to see Hualp actively go invading looking for Lychee. Maybe invade to steal away some camps, sure. But on the other hand, it also does mean that Lychee will struggle a little bit in terms of invading and trying to steal away things of his own. And the Jax clear is not bad. You hide it, the scaling is better as well. So early game wise, maybe a little bit more passivity coming through from the side of Purdue's jungler.
Did see buffing start out with the roots here, and Saknam took a little bit of damage for it. And the one thing, well, Galiushi and Saknam is a lane that we think is pretty strong. 2 good players. Mig and buffing have generally been getting the better of these guys, right? Hitting level 2 first.
Yeah, especially buffing. A lot of level 1 pressure is coming from the way buffing is playing and just constantly poking down Saknam and Galiushi. So once again, Unsurprisingly, they get that level 2. And with the Kaiser Zyra as well, there's actually a lot of poke they can put under turret. So the short range of Galliushi is going to hurt in this sort of situation.
You do need to be careful, though. You saw Buffing take a turret shot there, and that is always a worry. Jax is going to get spotted out on his chickens here as there's a ward right on top of it. So having that knowledge, should be very aware if you are the mid and bot lane of the side of Purdue, and on your top side, Leechy just trying to do his thing. Start to see Princeton actually on the other side of the wave here and actually has a CS advantage.
Yeah, for the first time this series, Princeton actually having the advantage pushing out. Now, has to be careful, though, for ganks, because if Princeton is pushing out, is getting that lead, then he is vulnerable to getting ganks. Valley still willing to trade right now, so the CS advantage does favor Princeton, but keep in mind he also has a bigger wave coming in that is CS that Valley just hasn't picked up yet.
Yeah, that also means that Valley's taking more damage from that minion wave, right? He's got to try to hold it here. And it's going to be a little problematic, right? Because you can see what Princeton is doing. Princeton fighting fearless in this game, able to pick up those blobs and out-sustain anything that Valley can do early.
And perfect timing to drop that ward coming through from Princeton as well. Will spot Leechy. Looking for that gank on that top side, and that's really, I think, what Valley was waiting for.
Yeah, well, Valley patiently waiting to go in, but there's no knock-up left to see if Princeton can find a way out there. Leechy, nice flash there on the wind becomes lightning, so Princeton will live.
Yeah, really good read on Leechy as well, not to kind of overcommit, knowing that the Zac wants to flash. Ming going to take a turret shot as well. We talked about the poke that came through. We saw Buffing take one earlier. Ming is doing the same. They are trying their best to put as much pain down on Galliushi to stop the farming. And so far, it's been effective. If they poke down enough too, they could look for a dive from Hull.
It would be a little dangerous. Buffing is a little low on mana, but it is certainly a play they could make. But it looks like Whelp is just content to take a back here. You see Princeton teleport up in the top lane. Is Sam taking quite a bit of damage here, having a rough time versus Fox in this lane.
And we've been seeing Fox, kind of walk with small leads in lane. But really, it's been about the scaling, with that sort of Syndra pick that we saw in Game 2. Here in Game 3 with the Talia, it's, I think, more about the early advantages you can get, especially through the mid game. So glad to see Fox kind of applying this pressure. And when you hit level 6 as well, if Fox can continue to apply this pressure, that Weaver's Wall could be critical for Purdue.
Oh, for sure. Especially if you can split up a team fight, right? And then you get a nice apotheosis coming in. Your bot lane is able to put in some work. That's something that you see a lot of the really good Talias do, right? They roam up to the top lane. They make great plays with the Reaver's Walls. They roam to the bottom lane. They cut fights in half, right? And make life really, really hard for the opposing team. But so far, RMC, all's really quiet on the Western front here. Who do you think this benefits a little bit more in this game?
Well, I think so far Brooklyn have done a great job actually kind of nullifying it, because in the previous games, at least top side, Princeton has been struggling a lot. So kind of going even on the top side for Princeton is excellent. And on that bot side, while it's quiet kill-wise, we're actually seeing Ming and Buffing find bigger advantages than the previous two games. After all, against the Draven, it's always really, really dangerous. And even against the Varus, while they did manage to kind of bully out Galliushi a little bit, Saknam was roaming and getting a lot of pressure elsewhere. This time, both of them are stuck in a turret and not able to do anything. So I think Brooklyn are pretty happy with how this early game's going, and it favors them a little bit.
Absolutely. And one thing, if you are the side of Purdue Gold, you have to be worried about is that Valley hasn't been able to do a whole lot. Did get some jungle assistance. They burned the flash on the Zac, but the problem is Cell Division, that passive, is still available, right? So if you're not killing Zac in a super favorable position, you're burning a lot and getting at least a little more, but that extra life does go a long way if you can prevent that gold going over to the Yone and prevent this Yone from taking over the game, and your Zac's in a bit of a better spot. All of a sudden, we are talking about a Brooklyn College who is taking the fight to Purdue instead of Purdue taking the fight to them, and Brooklyn College forcing themselves to be perfect on a reversal or something like that.
And when you think about how Game 1 kind of went off screen and how we saw in Game 2, Brooklyn look best when they're playing aggressively, when they're the ones looking for the engage. So when you give them these sort of advantages, that is their most comfortable position that they're looking for. But Yanni, I mean, right now everything looks good for them, but we keep having to come back to Fox on that Tilly. I'm still looking at Fox to be able to turn the tides. Last two games, he's gotten to sit back and enjoy the lane pressure. This time, he's got to make that lane pressure for the other lanes.
Yeah, it's been a good time for him in prior games, but gonna have to step up a little bit. It's been a good time for everybody here, except for us, man. We have had a couple of technical issues tonight. That means we're gonna take a very short break. think Spectator might still be alive, but we will return with hopefully the continuation of Game 3. We'll see what happens. Be right back. All right, everybody, we have made it back here into Spectator here as we're starting off with some action as Fox is forced to flash away, but Saknam is the one who gets rooted up, and Sam is looking to be able to close out on this kill. It's a good job there of trying to knock him away, but Sam taking out Saknam.
I'm just a little bit curious seeing the Jana roam. I'm frankly not a huge fan of that. We are seeing Hop kind of get punched on a little bit. A good counter-strike to disengage on bot side. 1v1.
Apotheosis going down. Ming forced to use his ult to get away, but that shield is getting eaten up real quick, and he's got nowhere to go as Galayushi coming up huge in the 1v1.
I assume that's Triumph that kind of healed Galayushi there right at the end after taking down Ming, but if not, the minions were really, really close, and Buffin is looking to clean house. Keep in mind, Syra has a lot of damage.
Quite a bit of damage, but is going to back off of Galayushi here for at least right now. We'll see if Buffing really wants a piece of this AD carry, especially with Saknam in the area. But the shielding, the healing is too much, and Buffing forced to run away. Is now level 6, though. So if you land this root and you land the Stranglethorns, could do something, but Galayushi and Saknam a little too healthy.
Well, they did buy enough time for Ming to come back in, so hey, maybe Ming can look for those pigs. Galayushi's still really, really low. No killer instinct and no flash, though. And Saknam playing with fire, wanting to clear that ward in a 1v2 situation. Purdue somehow turned the tides. Yanni, I mean, we came back in. We saw the early kill for Brooklyn, but Purdue find the extra.
Yeah, they do. And I mean, just take a look. Ming has had a really tough game. He's 0-2 currently, but is still the CS leader. Just catching up on a couple of things we may or may not have missed. Sam getting that kill, but also being down quite a bit in CS. And Valley not having the game that we would have expected, right? A small lead in the top lane, but that's it. You haven't actually had anything else in the way of, you know, advantages. Saknam is completely caught out here. Princeton gonna hop around, let's bounce, trying to knock him away. We'll see if Saknam can survive for right now.
Great,
that's a good monsoon, but Sam is able to slide right in, and Princeton takes the kill. Teleport coming in as Sam and company try to get away, but Hop wants to go back in. Wallop in a little bit of trouble, but he's staying alive. He's forced to flash away, but he goes down. Valley gets that kill. And now on the other side, it's Buffing, completely caught out and off. The rocks are getting thrown, and Fox rocks his socks off as he's able to pick up another kill.
And we called for Fox to be able to help out some of the side lanes. It wasn't as obvious. The Weaver's Wall was actually used to put up a very small wall to cut off Hope and Buffing. It went into the actual wall there, which is why we didn't see it. But that's exactly what you need from this Talia to make it happen. Meanwhile, Ming was trying to rotate up from that bot side, but without the teleport that Fox had, couldn't reach in time and just really pushed out the mid wave. That was it.
Yep, and a little bit more gold going over to the side of Purdue as now Fox is on even or even better footing. Although Sam does have Malignance available, so that is an important note. But you can see the items are starting to creep through here for Purdue. They've got a pretty sizable gold lead just 11.5 minutes in the game.
Yeah, and Yanni, if we're talking items, let's talk topside a little bit, because you're talking about the fact that Valley didn't get the lead that we're used to seeing from him from this series. But I think this is the lead that you expect to see from a Yone. Early game, Yone isn't that strong. Saddam walks right into this one.
Oh no, Saknam gets sacked here as Buffing picks up that kill, but Leechy's on the backside on 2. Galiushi on top of Ming, but Ming gets away. Teleport forced out by Princeton. The question is, can Galiushi get away?
Galiushi!
But Galiushi goes in, realizing that his life would have been forfeit anyway. See a seismic shove on the side, but everything else is all good. What a play.
I'm still in shock, Yanni. You should get so much to live for. You had a chance to get away. But as you kind of said, didn't think he was going to be able to do it. Just went back in. Fox on the side. No backup does mean that I don't think you're even going to try and be able to get a steal. Brooklyn fire back. They are able to secure themselves that second Drake. And we've seen this dragon stacking from Brooklyn before. We've even seen the soul before. It is once again Infernal.
Yeah, this time, 6 grubs once again for Purdue, but the thing about Purdue's team is that Valley, an excellent champion to split push on with this Yone, so we'll certainly be able to take a little bit more advantage than the Darius, right? Because you get to take teleport on Yone, because you don't need the Ghost, right, compared to that Darius, so we'll see how these grubs come into play if they do.
Yeah, fair enough. I think it's worth noting because Darius is an excellent split pusher in his own right, but like you said, without the TP, Brooklyn was just always able to force the plays. They had better tempo on a lot of what they were looking for in game 2. This time Valley will be able to match. Now, again, Valley with the Yone, I don't expect him to start really dominating this lane until he picks up the Blade of the Ruin King. That's when I start thinking Princeton is going to be in a lot of trouble. So keep an eye on for that first item to come through, as once again, unfortunately, we have a bit of another tech pause. Hopefully, hopefully it's a short one.
It is. It is a short one. We're all good. Wow, you called it. You got to keep doing that, all right?
So, yeah, I don't know if I'm caster cursing or not at this point. Like, game 1 did kind of caster curses.
You reversed the curse.
Okay, so I got to wish for longer tech pauses? Is that how this goes?
No. Just, no, because then we will get long tech pauses. Could see a bit of a problem here. As Fox got rooted up by Buffing. Beautiful play. It's a shutdown going over to the Zyra. Charm coming out onto Leechy, and it's Brooklyn College, the pack of wolves, coming up big in the bot lane.
And once again, like we said, Brooklyn looks best on the front foot when they're trying to push the pace of this. Now, they will lose 2 turrets, both top and mid at this time. But hey, 2 kills and that turret, I actually kind of favor that. Because I think these outer turrets standing for Purdue later on will just become standing gold for Brooklyn. And I'm not expecting this game to end anytime soon.
Yeah, they forced the flash out of Fox as well. So now they have an opportunity to make a play on this Talia, right? Already shown that you're going to put the fear of God into him. If you try to Weaver's Wall away, you can get hit by a skill shot, right? And all of a sudden, you're dead. You're going down, buddy. It's over for you. It's Jover. So if they're able to take advantage here, it'll be a really big turning point for Brooklyn College because it's so much zone control out of the fight.
Yeah, now it's worth noting as well that Fox wasn't a bit of a power trough, right? You've got the Archangel's staff. It's not Seraph's just yet. So you don't have the extra shielding. You don't have the maximal damage or maximal AP that the item could give you. And I think for Fox, you recognize that. Just play safe for the next little while, and you can come back in, make plays after. Well, going in, gets Blast Coned away.
Yeah, you can see Whalp does so much damage with that Trinity Force. Looks like they're going to try to secure the Rift Herald here. Don't want to give this one up, especially with 6 grubs available for Purdue Gold. So see what happens as Fox and Sam in the 1v1, but Fox gets the better of them, getting a big shutdown and the fight's breaking out on the top side. Whalp trying to get in there, doing a lot of damage out to Leechy. Leechy will go down. It'll be Rift Herald secured for Brooklyn College.
And Leechy is the tankiest guy on this Purdue Northwest roster. And you saw how quickly he absolutely got melted. Never even had a chance to try and smite away the Herald. Literally just outside range, staring at it longingly as it gets taken. And sure, great, Fox takes that bot side, but I'm very, very concerned that Purdue is just straight up getting wiped every time they group up and try and make a play.
Yeah, it's big, and we'll see what they can get out of this Rift Herald here. Whalp has his driver's license, able to get it right where it needs to be. Parallel parked it right into that turret. This Rift Herald does not get a second turret here. It might get a charge.
Okay.
You know, that's okay. But, you know, you got a little bit off of it, but it feels like you needed a little more.
Fair enough. Like, there's nobody to ride it to help give it that extra bit of acceleration. Now, Yanni, I've got to go back to something you said. I'm sorry, did you just say parallel parking it perfectly into a turret? Brother, how do you parallel park?
I mean, listen, they're called bumpers for a reason, aren't they?
Never tested mine. Wouldn't be able to tell you. And he's up here in Canada? No.
Listen, man, I've had to park in the city a few too many times, all right? But yeah, look, it's a perfect parallel park into the turret. What else is it going to be? You drive into the turret? No. If you drive it into the turret, it makes it sound like, oh, you know, he accidentally hit the turret. But if you parallel park it into the turret, that goes with intention.
But the problem is the word parallel. The intention isn't. You know what, Yanni? I know you're from New Jersey, and I hear things they're different down there. So,
listen, we have the best drivers in the world. What can I tell you?
For now, though, the teams are starting to gear up for this Dragon Soul Point potentially for Brooklyn, and Brooklyn has been dominating this pick. Onto Fox.
Here we go. Fox is in a little bit of trouble,
The
but he gets
shield
shielded, and Sam goes down. Valley trying to get on the backside, but definitely dodged by both of the members, but Walt is going to melt. He's forced to flash out. Princeton do what he can, but Ming is full HP, but not for long. As Galiushi gets the apotheosis, and he goes over the wall, but right into the hands of Valley, as Valley now looks to chase down onto Walt and take him out. Can he catch the blast cone out? Not quite. It's Saknov who's getting the kill, and it's Purdue Gold who come away with a fight victor.
And when he needed it the most, Whelp could get no help. The entire team had backed out by then, and this is critical. Yanni, it's the first time we've seen Purdue actually win one of these large numbers fights. We talked about the Saracen Embrace. I honestly didn't expect it to be quite that impactful, but it bought all the time they needed. And with that, the Drake Stranglehold from Brooklyn is broken. They had, what, 6 straight Drakes? Between Game 2 and Game 3, and finally, Purdue get one. The stacking as well, that's potentially possible. 4 Infernals for Purdue?
Well, if Purdue gets the 4 Infernals, something bad happened to RMC, because right now they are in the driver's seat, and I really do not see them letting go, right? It may have been Hualp with the driver's license, but Purdue owns the car right now, especially Valley, with all the CS, 2-0-2, making a big impact in that fight. Finally struck the happy medium between being able to do well in a farm lane and be impactful in fights.
Yeah, and funnily enough, not actually the bit of the Rune King. Oh, Charm lands onto Saknam.
Saknam forced to flash away, but will live to fight another day.
Yeah, Saknam has not been having a fun game on this Janna whatsoever, and this was kind of what I was a bit worried about. It does not get better on the Janna either, so watch out for Saknam later, potentially getting one shot. I want to talk about Valley, because Valley did not go with Blade of the Rune King, actually went Strikebreaker, Kraken Slayer, and is still absolutely dominating the side lane, but will not have as much sustain. So in these team fights, in that last team fight, Valley had a lot of impact, but if Brooklyn actually just focus him down, I think that is a way that Brooklyn can very quickly even the playing field.
Yeah, we'll see if they're able to do that, right? It's going to be very, very difficult as they find themselves behind the 8 ball, but they're down, but not quite out yet, because they do have some pretty solid scaling on their side, right? Ming, 0,
Sure.
4, and 7 still has items to be able to pick up. Hualp, you know, on this Jax doesn't scale as hard as solo lane Jax because it takes a little longer, but still scales fairly well. Just the big thing you got to be worried about is Valley, and can't get caught by surprise by Galius.
Yeah, Galiushi actually has been really hard to engage. Saknam just dodging out another charm. I am so scared, Yanni, every time I see that going. Spirit Rush was used by Sam, I believe, to actually try and make that play happen as well. So maybe there's a window right now that Purdue can look to try and make something happen. Baron's on the table. You don't have the best Baron taking team, but you get enough control, and I've seen teams sneak it.
Yeah, for sure. But teams seem to be acutely aware when things are going to happen. And one of the things I'm worried about is the side lane between Sam and Fox. If you are the side of Brooklyn College, Sam has been on the losing side at times and could find himself on a bad side, but it's buffing the one who finds himself on a bad side. We talked about the Weaver's Wall and the impact it can make for picks, as the Baron could be all for Purdue's taking.
Yeah, and buffing is a huge part of this Brooklyn composition. Specifically, the Stranglethorns, the ultimate there, being able to cut off a massive part of the Baron is their biggest threat. So with buffing down, normally I'd say, okay, 21 minutes in the game, you need to find 2 picks to really be able to do Baron. But I think if it's buffing, you actually can go 5v4. They do have to rush it though. Buffing has already respawned.
Teleport coming on the side from Sam here. They're going to try to get on top of him. The seismic
dang.
shove, not well timed. Galiushi will be just fine though. Sam down both summoners. It's a pretty good pick.
Yeah, Sam had an instant flash as soon as he showed up. Yes, it wasn't perfect timing, but the window was so small for Fox. I don't blame them for seismic shove not necessarily connecting. And yeah, like you said, burning both summoners there means that now you can kind of go for that split push once again, right? Valley can just go down bot side, or not, because it's actually being started up on the side of Brooklyn.
They don't have the damage for this, I don't think. It's going to be pretty tough I mean, buffing can do a little bit. This Baron down to about
burning
7,000 HP as Lychee is here. Saknam is here. Buffing on the side, trying to keep everybody away. But buffing getting blasted. He goes down. Baron getting low and secured for Brooklyn College because Princeton gets over the wall. But now they find an engagement on Hualp. Hualp gets caught out. And it ends up being a 2 for nothing. But with the Baron secured for Brooklyn College, you're pretty okay with it.
The problem for Brooklyn now is that they're firmly on the back foot. Princeton is being hounded down by Saknam. Saknam isn't trying to kill Zach. You're trying to stop Princeton from being able to get home. And meanwhile, Galayushi and Fox, they're just straight up pushing mid. They're going to get the turret. And Dragon spawns in a minute. So Purdue can get this push at the perfect time and get the base and still be there for that 4th Drake.
The Prince is out on a scouting mission, but when you send a Royalty out, Royalty may be taking down Princeton in a whole lot of trouble here. And there, no help is coming. It's going to get caught. That Cell Division coming out, and Lychee going to commit some regicide.
He's a prince, not a king quite yet, and won't be, unfortunately, this game. Princeton is the sacrificial prince. Oh, buffing? Buffing actually got zoned out by Fox as well, so there was no help forthcoming. And now, we should note as well, Princeton dead for the next 28 seconds. Dragon spawns in 10. So even with the teleport, Purdue could just burn this Dragon down before Princeton even has a shot to try and help out.
Yeah, it'll be a bit of a rough time, but if you're Brooklyn College, it's okay to give that one up. You got the Baron, you got sizable gold numbers on your team. You took the Baron away from Purdue. Holy moly!
We have plants versus zombies? I feel like we need plants versus rocks.
You know, Pokemon taught me that grass is super effective against rock. But it ain't.
Isn't ground good against grass?
No. Grass is not ground.
Okay, well, that tells you I don't play much Pokemon.
grass grows out of the ground, you know?
True. Very true. But then by that logic, rock should beat grass, because you can crush grass with rock, no? At least that's what League of Legends teaching me right now.
But then moss grows on a rock.
Yeah, that's not moss, though. That is a flat-out plant. And buffing
that is not moss. That is an angry rock.
Yeah, absolutely got rolled by Fox right there. But hey, we talk a lot about how Saknam has to kind of be very careful about Sam and getting picked by that charm. Same thing's true from buffing. The big difference between Saknam and buffing right now is buffing does damage, Saknam reduces and kind of provides the utility, the opposite of that. But they're both in that very dangerous situation. As the game goes on, it's not just the mid laners they need to watch out for anymore. Well, can go and try and one-shot Saknam. Valley can look to one-shot buffing. And for these supports, the game gets less and less fun as we go on.
Oh, yeah, it's got to be tough. You're just, sitting in the back. But the thing is, if you're Saknam, right, you're okay with that. You're okay with shielding up your carries and, being Janna from behind and encouraging your team, a couple of thumbs up and stuff like that. But if you're buffing, the problem is, you kind of got to get up there. You got to land some roots onto people, and can't do that. It's going to be a problem. Valley going to throw everything in the kitchen sink at Sam and look to take him out, but Sam will barely survive.
I mean, Sam survives, but isn't at the turret anymore. And now Purdue can just push in and take this.
Ding?
All right. Wow, that's scary. Fox actually didn't take that much damage.
Yeah, but forcing the flash on a Fox is really the important thing to talk about here as well. And, in an area, wants to really go in, but there's just no angle to be had right now. A couple of low health bars, right? Especially on Valley and Fox. This would be a good opportunity for Brooklyn College if they're able to take it.
And I think for Purdue, you can just look to reset right now. There's no reason to play it risky. There's no major objectives to fight over. Baron's up in 2 minutes. You already got the shove. So you can just kind of look for the reset. Don't get baited by Brooklyn into trouble. And as we say that, Brooklyn is pushing up right now. Princeton taking a bit of damage. No passive. Could just drop.
Seismic shove was perfectly timed. And down he goes. Swamp getting onto the back line of Saknam. You talked about it, but he can't do all that much. Galayusi on the side. Still alive in a 2v1. And it's Purdue gold. Coming up huge right now as Fox and a sequester off Sam and force away his flash. In a small minion wave and Purdue Gold looking to crack that base.
Ming split onto the other side. Nobody is going to be here to defend this turret in time. And with the Void Grubs as well. All 6 of them on Purdue. I thought they were playing with fire, but it's Brooklyn who gets burnt.
Yeah, they are the fire benders here. They're the Twitch chat benders, right? The little grub benders, because they came out there once you hit up that turret, and there's a lot of those grub-a-dub-dubs right there. As It looks like you get the grub, you get the dub potentially. Purdue, again, they still own the car. They have paid it off. They no longer owe any payments on it. The bank doesn't own the car. This is their car. They, put 12-inch rims on it. They put the nice sound system in it. And Brooklyn College, there's nothing that they've been able to do so far.
Harold's gone, Yanni. You gotta let it go, man. The car's gone. They never had the license.
It was SpongeBob? They never had their license? Is that what you're telling me?
It wasn't where I was going with that, but you know what? We'll take it. If anything, for Purdue Northwest, I want to see the stately march come through from them right now. Baron will be spawning within 30 seconds. Another Drake in a minute. But it's only third Drake this time. You're not worried about Seoul going the way of Brooklyn. So for Purdue, I do think the Baron is the focus on this one. If you take the Baron, considering you've already broken one inhibitor, it's very easy to break another inhibitor and potentially force a fight on favorable terms. You're up 8k gold. After Baron, you'll be up 10.
Yeah, and they might not even have to do a Baron angle, right? Because Valley is in the bottom lane doing whatever the heck that they want. Sam could be in some trouble here. Fox and Sam in a 1v1. Sam landing the charm down. Fox getting about half HP. Sam wants to go back in for it as the rest of the team is here as they're looking for knockups. So 1-for-1 right now. But Leechy trying to stay alive. He is real tanky and he's looking to kill Buffing. He serves him up and takes him down. But it's a big shutdown for Ming as Gulayushi gonna flash forward, gonna try to take out Hualp. Hualp getting the stun down, but Saknam giving him the shield. Galayushi, can he go for more? Hualp goes back in, but Galayushi's too strong. Princeton from the backside trying to knock their heads together. They're trying to deal damage to Galayushi. Ming gets off to the side. Galayushi shielded up, but he's near turrets trying to stay alive. Valley on the backside takes him out. Princeton, the last one standing.
I feel like you can feel the pent-up rage and frustration from Galayushi in this play. He just keeps going in, doesn't go back out. Princeton pops in.
Princeton's just gotta go for it. Buffing is gonna try to save the day as both turrets are down. Galayushi is still alive and he takes out two. And just like that, it's Purdue who go to New York and serve themselves up a win the Aki way.
Purdue Gold clutch it out in this game 3, and every single player, Yanni, it feels like was popping off there. Like we're talking about Galayushi, the frustration we're feeling, able to pop off on that signature Neela pick. Valley on this Yone having so much more team fight impact, and I think that was what we called for. That was what was missing. That was what worked. But I want to talk about Fox on this Talia, because the first two games, Fox just kind of sat back and skilled, and the game happened to him. This game, with the Talia, he made things happen. The Weaver's Walls, the picks repeatedly onto Buffing, onto Fox. Even that last series of events, that was started by Fox going 1v2 and trading with Sam.
Yeah, if you pull out the checklist here, right? Solid laning, right?
Yeah.
Good Weaver's Walls, right?
Yeah.
Great Unraveled Earths.
Yeah.
Really good seismic shoves. And fantastic Weaver's Walls and good side laning too. That's everything you want. If you go into a game with a Talia, you say you got to do 5 things really, really well. He did every single one of them perfectly in that game. Generally made Fox a non-factor.
Yeah, and it's kind of shocking too, because if you just look at game 3, it looks like, oh, Purdue Gold was incredibly good. You know, they kind of stomped. They didn't. Games 1 and game 2, Brooklyn took it to them. Even in this game, Brooklyn still took it to them, and huge props to this Brooklyn squad. We said it before. They had a rough start of the season. They've just been growing exponentially throughout this, and we saw it here again, right? Throughout this series, this is a team that is really cohesive when they're on the front foot. They know how to play aggressive, and the only reason why I feel like they lost this game was because they took their foot off the pedal a little bit, because Purdue managed to put them on that back foot. And if there is an area they need to grow, maybe it's that, because going forward, they're perfectly fine. It's backing up. That's a bit of a problem.
Yep, and going forward, they will be, as Columbia College is going to be their next task to take down the 10-seeded Purdue Gold, by the way, coming in as the lowest seed here, able to get the job done, but doesn't mean they're going to go against the 2nd seed Columbia College. That will be played next week. But you know what's not going to be played next week? Overwatch. That's going to be played tomorrow. We've got a couple of great Nationals matches coming up there. UPRM Green versus UCSB Blue, and Oklahoma Christian Esports versus Purdue Steel. So you're not going to want to miss that every Thursday night here at the NECC. Game start at 7 o'clock Eastern. Don't forget that. Keep that in your mind. Get it memorized. Got it memorized. that'll be it for us here this evening. There's only one thing left to do here for myself, my co-caster RMC, Bridie and Adam pushing the buttons from behind the glass. Thank you all so much for being here with us tonight. We hope to see you tomorrow for some more NECC action.